I'm Emily. When I was 7, my biological father passed away suddenly from a heart attack on a Saturday morning. I remember he was making pancakes, a weekend tradition that always brought joy to our little family. Dad loved to shape the pancakes into funny faces to make me laugh. As I ran into the kitchen to help, he suddenly collapsed, clutching his chest with a look of excruciating pain. The rest of that day is a blur. The sound of ambulance sirens, the stark walls of the hospital, and my mother's tears. In the blink of an eye, we lost the anchor of our family. Not long after, my mom met David in a support group for widowed parents. David was tall, kind, and had a warm smile that faintly reminded me of Dad. A year later, they got married, and David moved into the old house my dad had left us. As I adjusted to having a stepfather, my mom shared some news that would change everything. She was pregnant. I can still see her glowing face as she told me I was going to be a big sister. At age 9, Ethan, my half-brother, was born, and from that moment, everything in our home shifted. My mom, once a devoted elementary school teacher, decided to quit her job to care for Ethan full-time. "Ethan needs me," she would say whenever someone questioned her decision. I often wondered if I hadn't needed her just as much during my early years, but the words always caught in my throat. Instead, I watched silently as my mom's world became centered entirely around Ethan. I started noticing how little attention she paid to me. She'd forget to pack my lunch for school and act surprised when I mentioned being hungry at dinner. "I'm so sorry, honey," she'd say distractedly, her eyes already back on Ethan. I was busy with Ethan's doctor appointments all day. Moments like these became the norm. David, my stepdad, noticed. I often saw him watching Mom with a thoughtful expression as she hovered over Ethan, seemingly unaware of my presence. One evening, while I was struggling with my homework at the kitchen table, David sat beside me and helped me with a tricky math problem. "Emily," he said in his calm, gentle voice, "sometimes people get so focused on one thing that they forget about other important things." I knew he was talking about Mom, and though his words couldn't change the situation, his kindness became a source of quiet comfort for me during those years. Ethan's arrival transformed my life. My mom, who once cared deeply about every detail of my world, was now entirely consumed by my little brother. I became invisible in my own home, left to manage my own needs. Every day I made my own breakfast, packed my own lunch, and completed my homework without anyone noticing or asking how my day went. "Emily, you're the older sister," Mom would remind me. "You need to understand and help out." I would nod and swallow my feelings of neglect, unsure of how to voice them. Each night I hoped for a moment to sit with Mom and share my day. But after putting Ethan to bed, she was always too exhausted. "We'll talk tomorrow, Emily," she'd say, patting my shoulder. But tomorrow never came. Over time, my stories faded and I learned to stay silent. When I needed someone to listen, I turned to David. He always made time for me and encouraged me to keep going. Though even he couldn't change the way Mom prioritized Ethan over me. As the years passed, the responsibilities piled up. If the house was messy after a long day of Mom tending to Ethan, it was my job to clean. If Ethan's toys were scattered everywhere, I was asked to pick them up. "Emily, help your mother out," was a constant refrain. I loved my brother, but watching Mom light up when Ethan said a new word, or hearing her gush about him to her friends, made me wonder if she'd ever felt that proud of me. As my brother and I were growing up, my mom turned to Aiden and asked if he knew if anyone could help out. I gradually became quieter, more withdrawn. Even when I scored top marks on a test or won an award at school, Mom's response was lukewarm at best. "Good job, Emily," she'd say, before rushing off to take Ethan to another doctor's appointment. I realized, no matter how hard I tried, I could never compete with the special place Ethan held in her heart. I found solace in small joys and David's support. He would take me to karate class twice a week, cheering me on from the stands as if he were my real dad. Those moments were a rare source of light in my otherwise lonely world. But even David's warmth couldn't fill the void left by my mother's indifference. Looking back, those years were marked by a growing sense of isolation. I felt like a shadow in my own family, struggling to understand why I had been sidelined in favor of my little brother. Despite everything, I loved Ethan, but the pain of feeling unseen and unvalued by my mom left a lasting scar that shaped the person I would become. Tommy, my younger brother, seemed to be wrapped in an impenetrable cocoon of my mother's constant attention. From the time he was little, she was always by his side, meticulously overseeing every aspect of his life. She wouldn't let Tommy do anything on his own. When he started kindergarten, I remember my mom spending hours inspecting every tiny detail of his backpack. From the perfectly sharpened crayons to the homemade snacks she carefully packed. "Tommy needs everything to be perfect," she would say, as though one small oversight could ruin his entire day. Meanwhile, if I ever forgot my lunch at home, it was brushed off as a small mistake you need to take responsibility for. As time went on, her overprotectiveness of Tommy became more apparent. By the time he was 7, she insisted he shouldn't have to clean his own room. "Tommy's still young, help him out a bit, Emily," she'd say. At 12 it became routine. I was the one taking on his responsibilities, while Tommy played video games or watched cartoons. Once, when I finally protested, "Mom, why can't Tommy do it himself? I'm busy too," she gave me a look of reproach. "Tommy needs time to develop his creativity. You're his big sister, you should understand." It didn't stop at cleaning or chores. My mom shielded Tommy from the consequences of his mistakes. One time, he accidentally broke Grandma's favorite porcelain vase. I braced myself, expecting Mom to be upset, but instead, she hugged him tightly and said, "It's okay, Tommy, it's just an old vase." When I tried to remind Tommy to be more careful, Mom shot me a sharp glance. "Emily, don't make him feel guilty. You need to learn to be more understanding." Even when others, including David, my stepdad, suggested that Tommy should start learning independence, Mom was quick to shut them down. "He's still a child. None of you understand how sensitive my son is," she declared during a dinner conversation when David gently proposed enrolling Tommy in a baseball league. Mom was adamant that sports were too dangerous and insisted Tommy wasn't suited for such activities. Instead, she signed him up for art classes at a local community center. I still remember the bored expression on Tommy's face as he sat in the class, doodling aimlessly. After only a few sessions he dropped out, and Mom was quick to blame the teacher for not understanding his artistic spirit. I lost count of how many times David tried to reason with her, urging her to let Tommy experience life and take on responsibilities. "Sarah, he's 8 now," David said one evening. "I think it's time he started making his own bed in the mornings. It'll be good for him to learn some independence." But Mom immediately slammed her fork down, her face flushed with anger. "Are you saying I'm a bad mother?" she snapped, her voice rising to drown out any explanation he might offer. David remained calm. "No, Sarah, that's not what I'm saying. I just think Tommy needs to start taking responsibility for himself. I only want what's best for him." But Mom wouldn't listen. Instead, she turned to me, her voice laced with accusation. "Emily, you see what I have to deal with? Your stepfather is always so critical. You were cared for just like Tommy when you were his age." I lowered my gaze, unwilling to argue, knowing that any attempt to speak up would make me her next target. David didn't give up easily. He often suggested activities that would help Tommy build independence and social skills. Once he proposed sending Tommy to a summer sports camp where he could learn teamwork and resilience. "Sarah, I think this would be a great opportunity for him," David said hopefully. But Mom dismissed the idea immediately. "A summer camp? Are you kidding? Do you know how dangerous those places are? Tommy can't be away from me. Who else would understand him like I do?" Every discussion ended the same way, with David sighing in frustration, and Mom retreating further into the bubble she had built around Tommy. David tried to bond with Tommy in his own way, taking him on fishing trips or short outdoor excursions. But whenever Mom found out, she would make things difficult. "Tommy doesn't need that, David," she'd say dismissively, as if his efforts were meaningless. Over time, I began to notice the weary look in David's eyes. A quiet resignation that hinted at his frustration. He stopped trying to argue with Mom and instead redirected his attention to me, perhaps realizing that I was the one in the family who needed it most. David became my quiet anchor, He drove me to karate classes, stayed to watch every session, and listened intently as I described the moves I had learned. But even as he supported me, there was a sadness in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of his inability to change the dynamic of our family. I appreciated his efforts deeply, knowing that he was doing everything he could to make me feel valued in a home where I often felt invisible. Looking back, I can see how David's quiet resilience and care were the only sources of light in an otherwise isolating environment. His small acts of kindness stood in stark contrast to the overwhelming attention Tommy received, and though they couldn't completely fill the void left by my mom's neglect, they reminded me that someone still saw and valued me for who I was. After David passed away from a sudden heart attack when I was 24, our family's life quickly spiraled into chaos. My mom, who had always relied on David for both financial and emotional support, was left feeling lost and terrified at the prospect of having to shoulder all the responsibilities on her own. A few weeks after the funeral, she called me, her voice heavy with anxiety. "Emily, I don't know what to do. Without David, I can't manage. Ethan and Candy need help. You understand our family's situation, don't you?" I sat quietly in the small chair in my apartment, feeling my heart tighten as her words sank in. I knew that if I refused, she would bombard me with guilt and lectures about my duty to the family. But I also knew that taking on this burden would put significant strain on my own finances. After a long pause, I sighed softly. "How much help are you asking for, Mom?" She hesitated, then said, $1,200 a month, Emily. Just until we get back on our feet. Don't you? The amount left me speechless. It was a substantial sum, nearly a third of my monthly salary, but I nodded anyway. "All right, Mom, I'll do my best." At first, I reassured myself that it was the right thing to do, but as the months went by, and I saw the deductions leaving my account each month, the weight of it all began to sink in. I started cutting back on my own expenses. No more dinners out with friends, no more weekend trips I had dreamed of taking. Mom either didn't notice or didn't care about the sacrifices I was making. Instead, every phone call revolved around new demands. "Emily, Ethan needs a new computer to learn programming," or "Candy wants to celebrate her birthday at a restaurant, can you chip in?" I tried to endure it. But every time I went back home to visit, the resentment in my heart grew. Ethan, now 19 years old, wasn't working or studying. He spent his days in his room playing video games. Candy, my brother's fiancée, was sprawled out on the couch, snacking and watching TV all day. The house, once meticulously maintained by David, had fallen into disarray and neglect. When I asked Mom why Ethan couldn't find a job to help out, she snapped at me, "You don't understand your brother like I do. Ethan is very sensitive. The world out there isn't safe for him." Watching her coddle Ethan and Candy at all costs left me feeling bitter. I was the only one contributing financially, yet I was treated like an outsider. Still, out of love and compassion for my mom, I kept sending the money, hoping that one day things would improve. But deep down, a question began to gnaw at me. Does anyone in this family ever stop to think about how I feel? One summer afternoon, I returned home at my mother's request. She said she had something important to discuss, and I, still holding on to a faint hope that things might change, agreed to visit. As I stepped into the old house that used to be my haven, I realized just how much everything had changed. Ethan was in his usual spot, glued to his computer screen, while Candy lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone and chewing gum. My mom sat in the living room, holding a stack of papers. "Emily, I need to tell you something," she began, her tone a mix of unease and determination. I sat down, listening as she explained that she had drawn up a will, leaving the house and all the family assets to Ethan. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom, I'm the one who's been supporting you all this time. I've been paying for the electricity, the house repairs, everything. Ethan doesn't even have a job. Why would you do this?" She looked at me, her gaze colder than I had ever seen it. "Emily, Ethan needs this house. He's the son, the one who needs to inherit the family's legacy. You're already stable, you don't need as much as he does." Her words felt like a dagger to my heart. But what she said next utterly shattered me. To be honest, I've never loved you the way I love Ethan. From the moment he was born, I knew he was special. He's the light of my life. And you've always been a good child, but never anything extraordinary. I sat there, frozen, a storm of pain, humiliation, and anger raging inside me. All the years I had spent helping her, the sacrifices I made with my finances, my time, and my dreams, were dismissed with that cruel admission. I stood up, looked at her, and forced myself to speak with a steady voice. Thank you for your honesty. But from now on, I won't be sending you any more money. Ethan and Candy can take care of you since they're the ones you truly care about. Her mouth opened, as if to protest, but I didn't wait to hear her reply. I walked out of the house, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Complete freedom. On the drive home, her words echoed in my mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. But at the same time, they brought clarity. I didn't owe her or Ethan anything. The very next day, I canceled all the automatic transfers I had set up to support her. I blocked her number, along with Ethan's and Candy's. In the weeks that followed, my mom tried every way possible to reach me, through Facebook, email, even my coworkers. But I refused to respond. I was done chasing love from someone who had never valued me. Now, I devote all my time and money to building my own future. I've started looking for a small house where I can finally feel happy and free. Looking back, I have no regrets about my decision. I lost my mom a long time ago, on the day she decided to pour all her love and expectations into Ethan. But now, I've finally found myself again. After cutting off all contact with my mom and Ethan, I began to feel a sense of relief I had never experienced before. The $1,200 I used to send home each month now became the foundation of my dream. A small house I could call my own. I opened a new savings account, and every month, instead of sending money away without any gratitude in return, I deposited the full amount into this account. For the first time, I felt like I was truly in control of my life. The early days after that decision were not easy. There were nights I lay in bed, heavy with guilt, wondering if I was too cruel for leaving my mother in a difficult situation. But then I would remember her cold eyes, her cutting words that I was never special, and the painful truth that she had never truly valued me. Those memories kept me grounded, reminding me that I had made the right choice. Instead of dwelling on what I had lost, I focused on the future. I began making detailed plans for my dream home. A cozy living room, a fully equipped kitchen, and a small balcony where I could sip coffee in the mornings. I spent my weekends touring properties in the suburbs, quiet neighborhoods not too far from work, but peaceful enough to feel like a saint. Through this process, I realized that saving money wasn't just about building financial security, it was about rebuilding trust in myself. I had spent too long living in the shadow of a family that dismissed all my efforts. Now, I wasn't just saving for a house, I was investing in myself. I enrolled in personal development courses, signed up for a weekend yoga class, and even treated myself to a short trip to the coast. Something I had never dared to do before. By October that year, with my savings finally reaching a significant amount, I found the perfect little house in the suburbs. It wasn't grand or luxurious, but it felt like home the moment I walked through the door. The creaky wooden floors, the small but cozy kitchen, and the backyard where I could plant flowers or simply sit and read. It all felt like a fresh start. On the day I signed the papers, I couldn't stop smiling. This house wasn't just a property. It was a symbol of the freedom and independence I had reclaimed after years of being under someone else's control. Every morning in my new home, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the curtains, and a deep sense of peace in my chest. No more guilt-ridden phone calls, no more financial burdens weighing me down. For the first time, I'm living for myself. And more than just living, I'm finally experiencing the true meaning of happiness. After cutting off all contact with my mother and Ethan, I began to feel a sense of relief I had never experienced before. The $1,200 I used to send home every month became the foundation of my dream. A small house I could finally call my own. I opened a new savings account, and instead of sending money away without ever receiving gratitude, I deposited the entire amount into that account every month. For the first time, I felt like I truly had control over my life. The first days after making that decision weren't easy. There were nights I lay in bed, heavy with guilt, wondering if I was being too cruel for leaving my mother in a difficult situation. But then I would recall her cold eyes, her harsh words telling me I was never special, and the undeniable truth that she had never truly valued me. Those memories gave me strength, reminding me that I had made the right choice. Rather than dwelling on what I had lost, I focused on the future. I began planning every detail of my dream home, a small house with a cozy living room, a fully equipped kitchen, and a little balcony where I could sip my morning coffee. On weekends, I spent time touring properties in suburban neighborhoods. Quiet, not too far from work, but far enough to provide a sense of peace. I frequently saw Jo tucking at her dog. Throughout this process, I realized that saving wasn't just about accumulating money, it was about rebuilding trust in myself. I had spent too long living in the shadow of a family that dismissed all my efforts. Now, I wasn't just saving for a house, I was investing in myself. I took skill development courses, signed up for a weekend yoga class, and even treated myself to a short trip to the beach. Something I had never dared to do before. By October of that year, when my savings had grown significantly, I found a perfect little house in the suburbs. It wasn't large or luxurious, but the moment I stepped through the door, it felt like home. The old wooden floors, the small but cozy kitchen, and the backyard where I could plant flowers or simply sit and read, it was everything I needed. The day I signed the contract, I couldn't stop smiling. This house wasn't just a piece of property, it was a symbol of the freedom and independence I had reclaimed after years of being controlled. Every morning in my new home, I wake up to sunlight streaming through the curtains, filling me with a sense of peace and freedom. There are no more guilt-ridden phone calls, no more financial burdens weighing on my shoulders. For the first time, I'm living for myself. And more than just living, I'm finally experiencing what true happiness feels like. The story follows Lily's journey from being a forgotten and exploited child within her family to finding the strength to stand up for herself, sever toxic relationships, and build an independent, free life. It highlights the importance of self-respect, setting boundaries, and refusing to be taken advantage of by those who do not value her.
I raised my daughter Lena alone, and my place took care of her wedding. They called me a worthless dad who only completed middle school. Only elites would act in such a small manner, and only during this occasion. Lena, who had ripped off her bridal gown, disrupted the mood. "Dad, let's go home." "Yeah, let's do that." The visitors started to shudder as soon as I turned to go, because a scream came from an unexpected direction. The image in front of them was startling. Gavin is my name. This year, I turned 61. Lena is my only daughter. She has always had a special gift. "Daddy, look at this." Recently, 5-year-old Lena showed me a drawing she had done. It appeared to be a schematic from her disassembling a ballpoint pen. Lena was known at the time for disassembling objects to determine their construction. Although I had witnessed her disassembling innumerable pens, I never thought she would create a diagram of one. I could tell right away that this girl was going to be fantastic. Since Lena had never been able to play outside much due to her physical fragility, she began doing experiments in areas that interested her indoors. She developed an interest in meteorology and astronomy. "Daddy, why do clouds float in the sky?" She asked me out of genuine curiosity, even though it was something so obvious that I had never considered it. As you can see, clouds are not a single solid entity. Imagine them as a group of innumerable water drops. The weight of the constituent elements, temperature, and gravity force the droplets to float rather than fall. Lena heeded my advice, went to her science teacher, and researched clouds as much as she could from the library, even though I thought the explanation might be a little too complex for her age. Even her teachers were shocked by how well she grasped the concepts by the time she was 10 years old. She is gifted, indeed. I don't possess any special abilities myself, but her mother was smart and attractive, the epitome of beauty and intelligence. Her mother, my dear late wife, must have passed it on to her. Lena's mother died on the same day that Lena was born. There were no problems before to the birth, but my wife's condition deteriorated a few seconds after giving birth to Lena. Her heart halted in an instant, and her body arched abruptly. With the state of medicine today, the chances of survival are between 60 and 80%. Nevertheless, a lack of oxygen to the brain causes long-lasting damage in many people. However, there was an 80% probability of mortality and less sophisticated technology when Lena was born. This unusual illness, which only affects a few dozen people annually in the United States, was transmitted by my wife of all things. Ultimately, my wife went to heaven without ever seeing the child for whom she had sacrificed her life. I had no idea what to do. I liked my daughter Lena, of course. It never occurred to me that she had killed her mother, although occasionally I felt almost cruel when I saw her serene sleeping face, which was so like her mother's. What am I supposed to do now? With a loud crash, the months I had spent with my wife, anticipating Lena's arrival, and the bliss I had finally discovered fell apart. A flood of emotions overtook me, and I sobbed uncontrollably until my eyes dried up. Then a small voice spoke out to me, pleading with my fractured self for assistance. Lena. Oh, I see. Isn't it time for your milk? I will always keep you safe, so don't worry. I made a clear decision while cradling her delicate warmth in my arms. I would grow Lena to be a good adult, even if I had to do it by myself. As Lena's lone parent, I would give her anything she desires and be there for her through everything. Lena took a soft hold of my index finger, as though she were listening to my thoughts. Hey, Dad. What? Oh, what did we discuss once more? Get it together. Her stern tone brought me back to the present. My late wife was exactly like the woman in front of me, grinning as brilliantly as the sun. She's my daughter, Lena. She will turn 24 this year and has developed into a lovely, self-reliant woman. Her beautiful blue eyes, her long chestnut hair that is somewhat wavy, and her healthy, sun-kissed skin. Hey, which of these looks better in your opinion? What about the dress on the right, which is powder blue? It looks lovely and complements your eyes. When Lena heard that, her eyes softly sparkled, and she gave a small smile. Her mother's light blue eyes and slightly wavy chestnut hair were identical. Observing these minor similarities to my wife became a silent pleasure for me as Lena grew older. Lena is now on the verge of being married. Kyle, a man who works at the same company as her, is her fiancé. I thought well of him when they came to announce their engagement. I'm not really experienced yet. Lena is such a wonderful person that she probably doesn't even need a spouse. But instead of helping her or supporting her, individuals occasionally push themselves too hard. When she needs to slow down, I want to be the one to be there to support her. I was a little taken aback to hear a young man say that. Most importantly, though, I didn't mind since Lena chose him. His sincerity struck a chord with me, and I approved of the marriage. It's Lena's life, so it's not really important that I gave my consent. In front of Kyle, Lena, who typically had such a stern countenance, seemed like a little girl, which made me think of my time with my wife. The wedding preparations were proceeding swiftly before I realized it. Still, is it all right that I haven't met his parents yet? I whispered. I hadn't yet met Kyle's parents, but Lena and Kyle had already greeted both sets of parents. Neither of them appeared eager to set up a meeting before the wedding, but I felt that we should at least do that. I don't think there's any need to meet before the wedding. I concur. We don't have to force anything upon you, sir. It goes without saying that their comments sounded strange, as if they were concealing something. However, I figured it would be better to honor their desires and not press the matter because they must have had good reason for not wanting to meet. In light of that, I haven't really stepped in until now. I've been informed that Kyle and his parents will be arriving shortly, and this is what they call the rehearsal. Strangely enough, I felt anxious. For half an hour, I had been going through this strange routine of getting coffee and then going to the restroom. And they entered as I heard the door open. Kyle came in with two individuals I thought were his parents. Kyle's mom. Sierra examined me closely, looking from the top of my head to my toes. She appeared astonishingly young for her age of 70. I made an effort to get over the awkward feeling by introducing myself first. It's good to meet you. I am Lena's father, Gavin. I reached out to shake hands, but they didn't do the same. I glanced up cautiously and saw them both, their icy gazes fixed on me. Oh, I thought that since Lena is so beautiful, her father must be really attractive. Sierra looked down on me and laughed sarcastically. About 5'7", Kyle's father, who was standing next to her, said in a strong, heavy voice while maintaining a serious demeanor. A quite unremarkable middle-of-the-road body with an average face that is neither overweight nor particularly thin. Mr. Gavin, no. The well-known voice, suddenly brimming with irony, set off a chain reaction of ideas in my head. Only now did I realize that the haughty man in front of me was definitely someone I knew. Tate, you must be joking with me. That's correct. It's been a while. I never thought I'd see my old foe in such a setting. Tate and I were never that close during our 3 years of middle school together. Tate constantly finished second in our grade, right behind me, while I was always placed first. I had always been viewed as a rival by Tate. You're a really annoying person. You've consistently been at the top of the class. For once, could you let me have it? I detest perfectionists like you because of this. As I was reading my book, he would say stuff like that to me. I didn't consistently win first place because I was a perfectionist. Rather, it was because I couldn't be content unless I gave it my all. As a result of minor errors, my scores for the 5 subjects were consistently either perfect or 499 overall. Tate was intelligent too, but he was never as good as me. He would say things like that to me after each test. Then, one day in the early summer, just before we were going to graduate, a significant incident rocked my life. My parents died. I won't go into specifics, but I became completely unmotivated after that. As the summer heat started to cool off, I stayed at home in a deep despair and didn't even take the final exams. I was able to go up a grade because of my prior good grades, but I lived like a recluse in a relative's house. Tate looked down on me whenever he could, taking advantage of my weakness. You see, you received what was due to you. When you don't know how to give others their turn, this is what occurs. You've fallen out of grace now. In contrast to you, I intend to become a government official and am transferring to a prominent private high school. For the rest of your life, you will be forced to observe my accomplishment from the sidelines. Before he left my life, that was the final insult he hurled at me. He reportedly moved away to live in a dorm. After that, I broke off contact with my former classmates and didn't go to any reunions or activities. However, a glimmer of hope appeared in my life precisely when I felt I would never fully recover from the loss of my parents. My wife, who was 3 years older than me, was that hope. I was able to reevaluate my life and have the courage to go on after meeting her. I promised to preserve the priceless treasure she left behind, even if I eventually had to deal with losing another loved one. I've put my everything into Lena's future and worked nonstop. It comes out that my daughter's father-in-law is actually my former competitor, just when I believed she had met the one. It appears that my earlier weakness of fleeing was not something that fate was willing to overlook. I inhaled deeply and turned to Tate. I never thought I'd see you again at this age, Tate. He grinned menacingly. Yes, it's funny how life goes. Who would have guessed that my son would marry the daughter of a worthless middle school graduate like you? Indeed, life is uncertain. It was obviously offensive. I didn't mind if he made fun of me, but I couldn't stand to hear him disparage the daughter I had raised with so much effort. Regardless of what Tate said, I never retaliated, even in the past. Conflict has always irritated me. This time, though, I had a strong impulse to speak. Let me be clear. Lynette and Kyle are the ones getting married. Nothing more, nothing less. We are only becoming in-laws. Don't misunderstand that. It must have been nerve-wracking. With an attitude of superiority, Tate crossed his legs and sat down on a nearby sofa. I have no intention of becoming in-laws with someone like you, he muttered. I would admit that Lena is intelligent enough to be a good fit for our family, but after they are married, she will cut off all contact with you and turn into a complete stranger. When Lena gets married and joins our family, we intend to adopt her as our own daughter. Kyle objected before I had a chance to reply. Wait a minute, Dad. I've never heard of this before. Did you have any knowledge of this, Mom? Sierra responded in a light-hearted mocking tone. Oh, who knows? I'm merely a married woman in this family. Your father's words are definitive. It is going to happen if he says it. All right? Has conversing with a worthless middle school grad, Kyle, affected your IQ in any way? Not because of what Sierra said about me, but because she would say it to her own son. I had a great deal of disdain for her. I could see Kyle's clenched hands quivering a little as his face tightened. Now I knew why they had been so reluctant to present his parents to me. Kyle must have been shocked to learn that his father and I were acquainted. I couldn't help but question what kind of parents Sierra and Tate were as I considered their disrespect for even their own son and Tate's trivial comments. Lena spoke up before I could make up my mind on what to do. This type of tight environment cannot exist during rehearsal and dress fittings, can it? Please enjoy yourself without bringing up the earlier argument, as there is also a sampling for the co-meals today. She quickly shifted the topic. Sierra nodded and got to her feet. That's correct. This is not how we came here to squander time. Our goal is to make sure the food we serve to our visitors is of the highest caliber. I saw something strange about Sierra's minor dragging of her right foot as she turned around and left. Your right foot. Sierra interrupted me before I could say anything more. You don't need to worry. What could you possibly know as a recent middle school graduate? I let it go because I had nothing further to say, and they both walked away. Now that Lena, Kyle, and I were alone, the room was quiet. Kyle bent his head profoundly as the door closed. I sincerely apologize for my parents' impolite actions. Even I am powerless over their superiority mindset, which has always existed. I wish my brother could be here. It turned out that Kyle's older brother had died overseas. My sibling was a superb pharmacist. His fascination with pharmacology began at an early age, and everyone assumed he would pursue a career in the field. However, he abruptly declared he was leaving abroad on his 25th birthday. My folks made an effort to stop him. Things may have been different if he had gone to a world-class hospital for a vacation or to hone his talents. However, Kyle's brother's route was much more difficult. Are you familiar with the medical groups that work in hazardous regions of the world? My heart skipped a beat as I heard those words. Yes, of course, I said slowly, swallowing hard. You were your brother then? Kyle gave a silent nod. My parents tried to stop him because of this. There was nothing more to say. It was unnecessary for me to speculate about Kyle's feelings or what might have happened to his brother. It was too obvious. Lena swiftly dispelled the stifling mood that had descended upon the room. Hey, why are we becoming so depressed? Although I am aware of the narrative and have heard Kyle discuss his brother previously, I have no doubt that he would not want things to be this way. Kyle seemed to feel a little better after hearing Lena's words. Yes, you are correct. For now, let's just concentrate on the wedding. I want to apologize again, Gavin, for my parents' behavior. I touched Kyle's shoulder tenderly. The actual stars here are Lena and Kyle, regardless of how terrible his parents may be. All that matters is that they are content. After that, I made the decision to keep quiet about what had transpired. Tate and Sierra didn't say anything more. They smiled and didn't cause any more trouble for the remainder of the event, which could have been due to the presence of venue staff or simply their acting. This was the quiet before the storm, and I was unaware of it. Time flew by as I calmly savored the food and headed home, and before I knew it, the wedding day had come. Lena, who used to stroll behind me and say "Daddy," would grow up and wear a spotless white frock, something I never imagined would happen. I brought a picture of my late wife and I from a trip together to participate in the happiness of Lynette and Kyle's special day because I didn't believe it was acceptable to bring a huge shot of my late wife. I will always remember the ceremony as a lovely, poignant, and even mystical event. After that, we relocated to the reception area, but that's where the unexpected occurred. This seating chart, what is it? I was indeed classified as a useless middle school graduate. The staff hastened to get the charts, their cheeks white as they repeatedly bowed in apology, and I could hear whispers throughout the room as people took notice. Lena and Kyle were backstage changing their clothes at that point. I had no question who was responsible for this based on the staff's terrified response. What about that? My unique gift to you. When I looked around, Tate had a chilly, vindictive smile on his face. Although Sierra's expression was unreadable due to the folding fan covering her mouth behind Tate, it was obvious from her body language that she was making fun of me. I shuddered a little. The one who is mortified by this humiliation is Lena, not me. At this point in my life, being embarrassed in front of a large crowd at a wedding doesn't hurt at all. There would truly be whispers if the bride's father was humiliated in this way. I tried not to cause a scene up until now, but I had enough. To be 61 and still think about something so juvenile. Tate replied with a smug expression on his face, but I calmly reciprocated. I'm a man who rose to the position of government official after graduating from a prominent university. Lena is undoubtedly in a position as well because she works for a prestigious corporation. However, how about you? You stopped studying, turned into a recluse, skipped the high school entrance exam, and are still only a middle school graduate. Only the elite are invited to this festivity. You ought to depart right away. Tate's irate tone reverberated across the space. The throng of spectators swelled, interested in the disturbance. Concerned about the impact this might have on Lena's reputation, I opened my mouth to speak, but a cool, collected voice interrupted. Let's head home, Dad. There was no mistake it, but it was deeper than normal. Lena's voice was heard. She was standing there, emotionless, as though she had lost all sensation, when I turned around. She was back to her earlier casual attire, having thrown away her bridal gown. Beside her, the employees who had gathered the seating charts in a panic were shaking as they took in the scene. Lena had obviously heard it all. A little later, Kyle, who had removed his tuxedo and was also dressed down, joined us. Leave, Gavin. I shuddered at the obvious fury in Kyle's voice, even if it was milder than Lena's. Tate and Sierra, meantime, were enraged. Kyle, what does this signify? The reception is going to begin, Lena. Why are you acting in this way? Sierra, who is much shorter, gave a little squeak as Kyle, who was 6'3", walked slowly approaching his mother. What, mother? Do you not feel embarrassed by your actions? After my brother died, I know you want to put your expectations on me, but I'm not your puppet. I wish to live my life as I see fit. Ms., I will return your kindness, but if you both keep acting this way, I'm willing to cut off all contact with you. There was a thick quiet in the room. Too scared to get further involved, the visitors who had been silently observing murmured to one another. Unable to control his rage, Tate yelled, "How dare you? It is not acceptable to disobey your parents. All right, you and Lena can go. We're off to this wedding. Totally off." There had been no change. The same Tate who had earlier yelled at me to give him the top rank in school was still there. I was too tired to even let out a sigh. I turned to Lena and said, "You're right," ignoring Tate. Let's head home. The wedding could not go on after Tate declared it canceled. Even though we were bothering the visitors, it felt like the best course of action to depart at this time. A cry broke out behind me as I turned to go. When I turned around, I saw Sierra fall to the ground, her face going white. Panic set in, with several guests yelling in bewilderment. I hurried to her right away. "Hey, how are you treating my wife?" For the first time, I spoke up when Tate attempted to step in. "Do you wish for her to pass away here?" My remarks caused Tate to freeze, and I called for an ambulance while he remained stunned. Still in shock over his mother's death, Kyle stood still, unable to process what had happened. Frantically, people gathered around to inquire about the situation. Lena hurried to my side, pushing through the crowd. "Dad," she added, she felt lightheaded earlier. Her hands were shaking when she assisted me in lowering the veil, and her steps appeared wobbly. This was unquestionably a stroke. I swiftly rolled Sierra over onto her side, lifted her head a little, and calmly spoke to her. There was a faint reply from her. I had to keep a tight eye on her condition until the ambulance arrived, even though it had already been called. I would be forced to administer CPR if things became worse. Kyle had calmed down and hurried over as I rolled up my sleeves. What will become of my mother? She is thankfully still conscious, but if care is delayed after a stroke, there may be serious consequences or worse. Until help comes, we'll try our best. Kyle gave a forceful nod, but Tate was the one who was still struggling to understand. "Hey, leave Sierra alone." He was obviously in a panic, unable to comprehend what had transpired. Tate, apparently unable to hear anyone, continued yelling her name in spite of his family members' attempts to calm him down and explain. As I watched him, I couldn't help but reflect on my own history. I prayed as I glanced at my wife's picture in my pocket. "Let me save her this time, please. Give me courage." At that moment, the ambulance's arrival was announced by the workers outside. I stuffed the picture back in my pocket and braced myself as I hurried in. Kyle informed me that Sierra had survived the procedure a few hours later. Lena and I were handling the return of presents and explaining the situation after Sierra was brought in because the wedding had to be canceled nonetheless. However, I felt my body go slack when I heard that Sierra had been spared. Lena was on my side. "Dad, you did fantastic. I'm very happy she survived." "Yes, but it hasn't ended yet. There are still many things to attend to." As we strolled along the moonlit street, Len gave a slow nod. Sierra was admitted to the hospital, so we made our way there, with visiting hours ending at 8:00 p.m. We had only roughly half an hour left. We ran to the room, and when we got there, Sierra was just waking up, staring at the ceiling, and Tate was holding her hand and crying violently. When Kyle saw us, he motioned for us to come in. "I appreciate you coming, Dad. Hurry up." Tate appeared to be prompted by Kyle's words as he shifted uncomfortably, opening and closing his mouth as though he was trying to think of anything to say. I let out a sigh. "Look, I didn't follow your instructions to save Sierra. I don't require some evasive gratitude." Tate cast a shamed glance down. There was a momentary pause before Sierra's hoarse voice murmured something. "Sophia, don't push yourself, Mom. For now, just take it easy." Sierra fell back asleep as Kyle's soft words soothed her. "Please wait here for a minute, Dad." Lena and Kyle decided to get takeout for dinner after they left the hospital. Tate and I were left alone in an unsettling silence after that. Unexpectedly, Tate was the first to speak. "I was totally useless when Sierra fell apart. You and Lena maintained your composure. Have you ever held a medical position?" Tate was probably astonished since he still thought I only had a middle school diploma. It was time to give an account of my life's events. No, I didn't finish middle school. After a few years of delay, I eventually completed my GED and enrolled in college. I went on to become a doctor. Tate had previously stated that he too aspired to become a doctor, I remembered. Given his aspirations, I had thought Tate would seek a medical degree, but that was not the case. Being a high-ranking bureaucrat is undoubtedly remarkable, but it appears Tate wasn't driven by enthusiasm to pursue that career path. It was a generation-old tradition in my family to become a bureaucrat. There was a lot of pressure, and my father was always criticizing me for never being able to take first place in school. Tate acknowledged that this was the reason he was so fixated on being the best, but what good would it do if I were the only one who helped him get there? Tate, too, had realized that. I was relieved when your grades did not allow you to transfer to a prestigious high school. That helped me succeed in college, become the best student at my new school, and finally work as a bureaucrat. But because he wasn't there, no matter how high I rose, I always felt empty within. You mean Keith? When I uttered the name of his late son, Tate's eyes widened in surprise. He stared at me as he froze. I showed him the picture of my wife that I had taken out of my pocket. My wife and I were in the photo. How are you acquainted with Keith? In a medical aid group, Keith and I collaborated closely. Keith, who was well versed in medical, worked as a nurse with my wife, Sophia. Numerous lives were saved by us. I felt a twinge of sadness and nostalgia in my heart. That day would always be in my memory. Keith's last moments as a member of the medical staff should make you proud. He bravely performed his duty. Even though Sophia and I tried our best, Keith asked that the priceless resources be used for the underprivileged kids, not for himself. He has a very good heart. I didn't know his tale because he never talked about his family, but I think it's time to share it with you. I reached into my wallet and pulled out something. The piece of paper was tiny. Keith left a note behind. Tate broke down in tears as he read the note and fell on the floor. Keith wasn't actually my son. Despite not being Keith's biological father, I loved him as if he were my own when I married Sierra when he was 13. And he's gone now. Oh, Keith. Under the brilliant night sky, Tate collapsed at his knees, tears pouring down his face and creating a big puddle on the tarmac. At that moment, Lena and Kyle came back, running over, startled to see Tate like this. Tate, however, was crying like a child and was too distraught to explain. I went to see Sierra in the hospital a few days after she recovered enough to speak. Even though she was still unable to move from her bed, the prompt treatment prevented permanent harm, and she would be able to resume her regular life after rehabilitation. Sierra spoke as soon as she spotted me. Isn't that a picture of Sophia? You are familiar with my wife. Quietly closing her eyes, Sierra disclosed a surprising link. I went to England to study abroad when I was 19. I met Sophia while I was pursuing my nursing degree. We connected because we both admired Florence Nightingale, even though she was only 13 at the time. I had to abandon my goal of becoming a nurse when I became pregnant with Keith at the age of 21. Sophia must have developed into an excellent nurse, though, didn't she? As Sierra had predicted, Sophia had become known as the Saint with the Lamp, and was dubbed the modern-day Nightingale in the field. Sophia was 35 when we first met, but she had extraordinary nursing skills. Together with Keith, we saved numerous lives while working together and getting married. I lost control and behaved in a way that was completely out of character for a doctor when Keith passed out during a mission due to a stroke. Even so, Sophia maintained her composure, and Keith put the needs of others before his own, even as his consciousness waned. I told Keith that I would bring a message to his parents if I ever went back to the States. He expressed his desire that his parents would live long lives, even though his own life would end there. Given the family history of strokes, he particularly urged his mother to take additional care of her health. Tate had already informed Sierra of Keith's fate. Remaining composed, she nodded slightly. Then she said strainedly, "Tate and I were obsessed with Kyle after Keith's death. Lena and you were harmed by our pride and bigotry, even though we wanted him to lead a happy and normal life." I didn't understand how stupid we had been until I saw the expression on Kyle's face. Please allow me to express my regret and gratitude for saving my life, even though apologizing won't make it better." She held out her hand to shake hands. Her action made it obvious that she was sincere. I had no reason not to accept it. I fulfilled my obligations as a doctor. I don't need your gratitude for that. But please apologize to Lena when she comes to visit. All I ask is that. Sierra stared me in the eye as we shook hands, tears streaming down her cheeks for a few long, emotional seconds. Following that, the two families got together and made amends. Even if I might never be able to forgive Tate and Sierra for what they did, I think it's sufficient to own their errors. Lena's happiness is the most important thing, and that's all that counts. "The baby just moved, Dad," Lena said, massaging her somewhat protuberant abdomen. Standing next to her, Kyle gave Lena and their unborn child a tender embrace, his arms around them in a protective embrace. The happiness I had always desired was present in this ordinary, everyday moment. Lena's happiness would have been Sophia's top priority as well. It was one day that Tate called me. "Please come to Keith's grave and pay your respects." I went straight there without thinking. It was easy to forget we were in a cemetery because of the nearly tranquil beauty created by the sunshine filtering softly through the trees and the gently swaying, well-kept plants. A laminated letter had been placed in front of Keith's grave. "I'm doing great." It was only one statement, but it spoke a lot. Keith must have left it in the hopes that his parents would be comforted. Despite the fact that Keith's sickness unfortunately ended his life before he could accomplish his goal, the note eloquently encapsulated his cheery, carefree, and bright personality. "Keith, welcome home." I was positive Tate's comments had reached Keith when a light wind blew through, lifting them upward. Keith's calm, trouble-free heart appeared to be reflected in the clear sky above us. I'm a 35-year-old male named Tom. I had a really dramatic past, but I'm really happy now. I want everyone to know about that period because of this. Nick, my younger brother, is exceptionally intelligent. In contrast to me, he was exceptionally intelligent and always achieved flawless grades in primary school without any study time. Our parents had high hopes that he would be accepted into one of the state's elite private middle schools. However, despite my best efforts, I did not study effectively and had below-average grades. My grades didn't get any better despite my best efforts, and I consistently received a math score of about 50. Oh, why is your brother so stupid when Nick is so intelligent? By the time he reaches middle school, he will have lost all hope if his elementary arithmetic results are this low. It's simply pitiful. I'm doing my best, though. How can you say you did well with scores like this? I received a score of 70 in social studies. Quit being foolish. You would undoubtedly receive a perfect grade if you were making an effort. Perhaps you ought to learn from Nick. That is unfair. Ha, you're being reprimanded. You're so stupid, dude. I am capable of resolving these issues. Is 6th grade your actual grade? You might want to start anew in 1st grade. Every time my mother saw my test results, she became irate. She would be upset if I didn't show her my test results, therefore I didn't want to. I had no other option, and I was furious with my brother for making fun of me. Our parents lavished him with attention, and he behaved arrogantly. He simply considered making fun of me and showed me absolutely no respect. He didn't seem cute to me, and I wanted he would go away. But I felt as though I was the one who was unnecessary in this home. As a child, I was greatly affected by my parents' comments that it would be better if I wasn't around. After that, I attended middle school. Even though my courses were challenging, I was rather happy because I had made some wonderful friends. In particular, I began spending a lot of time with Jake, a classmate. I was a little jealous of his mom's affection for him, even though they were a single-parent family and led a simple life. When I visited Jake's mom, she always offered me snacks, even if she was exhausted. They weren't costly, but I was quite appreciative. She treated everyone equally and had a constant smile. She seemed so different from my parents, in my opinion. My mom handled the office job while my dad served as president of the company my parents owned. Despite being the son of a president, I never experienced love. Although I recalled having a reasonably comfortable upbringing, I believed they spent more money for my brother. When it came to field trip food, for example, there was a slight variation. My mother gave me a dollar bill when the school led us to purchase snacks up to $3, but my brother received a $10 bill. My brother seemed unconcerned, even though I believed I was not permitted to purchase so many food. Enjoying his role as king, he distributed snacks to every student in the class. I learned early on that material wealth isn't the only factor in pleasure because I was raised with such partiality. My mother then revealed something startling to me over the summer break of my 3rd year of middle school. I intended to enroll in a summer course at a tutoring facility my friend frequented in order to strengthen my weak areas in science and arithmetic. I need a favor, Mom. The station has a tutoring center with a summer course. Attending the course does not require you to be a regular student, they claimed. You receive a discount if you enroll in 5 subjects. What? A course for the summer? Yes, I struggle with science and math. My friend informed me that taking all 5 topics is more cost-effective than just those 2. We're short on funds for it. We could spend the money on Nick instead of you, so it's a waste. Please release me. I'll put a lot of effort into studying. You don't need to study since you're going to quit school and get a job. Well done. You are no longer bound by your weak subjects. Wait, what do you mean? It indicates that you will leave school to work for our organization. Do you not understand? It's a waste of time and money to send you to high school. Instead, put in a lot of effort at work. No. I also want to attend high school. Dude, stop being so self-centered. You're upsetting Mom. Middle school is plenty for you because you're not that intelligent anyhow. You ought to work for us since you're a complete failure. Will you harm me in any way, Nick? Terrifying. Will you try anything on your younger brother? Enough. I hurried back to my room and banged the door to the living room because I was so angry. My brother embarrassed me, and Mom's words saddened me. I was unable to control my tears and even make decisions about my own future. Dad was stern and would scold me for even the smallest infractions. In retrospect, I believe my parents were poisonous and our family was dysfunctional. However, as a child, all I could do was cry, growing suspicious of my parents and hateful of my brother. In my 3rd year of middle school, winter arrived. I knew it was too late for me, so I just stared blankly at the skies as everyone else studied diligently for their high school admission examinations. Hey, I heard you're going to drop out and work? Yeah, my parents want me to join their company. Well, your dad is the president. Yeah, but they told me I wasn't worth sending to high school, that it would be a waste of money. That's difficult. I considered working immediately to support my mother. She overexerted herself and became ill. What, is your mom okay? The doctor advised her not to put herself under undue stress. She has a bad heart. Tom, it is awful. Don't appear so depressed. Let's demonstrate our abilities to them. Let's disprove those who think we're unworthy of dropping out. Let's put in a lot of effort and have faith that we will be rewarded eventually. You're correct. I apologize. I shouldn't pretend that I'm the only one who has issues. Everybody has challenges of their own. I know it's tough for you too, but don't give up no matter what. Yeah, I'll keep fighting. You too, Jake. Jake supported me despite his difficult circumstances, and I was appreciative. I was a little embarrassed since I had always felt that I was the only one going through hardship. I made the decision to work harder and maintain my optimism because I was determined not to let Jake outdo me. Perhaps good things will happen to me too someday. I chose to overlook the fact that my parents continued to treat me coldly and lavish my brother with attention. My brother finally quit bothering me when I stopped responding to his grating remarks. If I didn't answer, he probably thought it was no fun. As a recent middle school graduate, I began working at my parents' business in April. My father was unforgiving. He treated me like a rag and assigned me all of the difficult chores. He threw all of the work that had previously been done by other staff onto me. He simply yelled at me when I questioned him. "You're still not getting it. You fool, how many times must I teach you? But no justifications. You're useless because of this. Simply complete the task and resume your work." Yes, how could I have a boy like you? Nick is a masterpiece, smart and attractive. You are merely a flawed product. Such as this. Dad showed me a defective goods with his hand. He then tossed it in the garbage. He seemed to be discarding me. Years went by. It was my 30th birthday. Despite attending a reputable institution and graduating from a private middle and high school, Nick chose to stay at home instead of looking for work. He was just a jobless college graduate to me. I don't have to work because I'm learning how to profit from stocks. However, there's no assurance that it will work, is there? Nope, it will be easy with my intellect. Bro, just be quiet. Oh, I see. Even after graduating from college, my brother continued to spend his time at home doing nothing productive. However, my parents didn't chastise him. Instead, they stated, in a casual tone, "He'll make it big someday." It was pointless to say anything to them, but I didn't think that would ever happen. I therefore chose not to alert my parents. My parents and I were working at the company one morning. As I took on the challenging activities at 30, I felt like my age was catching up with me. I turned to see where the crash was coming from when I heard it all of a sudden. I noticed my dad had passed out. Dad, help, please. Call an ambulance instead. My dad died soon after we got to the hospital, but we called an ambulance right away. A heart attack occurred. Dad had been warned he had a bad heart and was overweight, yet he persisted in his bad habits. He most likely died from a huge heart attack as a result. When Mom let out a loud cry, my brother, who had hurried over, became pale. Oddly enough, though, I felt happy that the one thing that held me back was gone rather than depressed. Perhaps I'm ungrateful, but only someone who grew up with toxic parents would comprehend. I wasn't even depressed throughout the funeral. My mother chastised me for it, calling me the worst son. A week later, Mom gave my brother and I a call. "I need to talk to you, so please sit down." All right. Now that your father is gone, we must consider the business. You will take over the business, Nick. Your worthless brother has been sacked as of right now. How come? You understand? Nick will now be in charge of the business. Well, but I'd like to continue researching stocks. Only you have the right to be president, I beg you. Mom, if you ask like that, I can't say no. However, is it possible for me to study stocks in my spare time? Obviously. Hold on a second. After all of my hard work for this company, you're sacking me and appointing Nick as the new president. It's not fair. What were your thoughts? You might be the president. Your education is limited to middle school. You can't possibly be the president. Keep me from laughing. An education from middle school. However, it was you and Dad that forced me to drop out of high school. You can't make fun of me for that. You have no right to speak to me in that manner. You were born to me. How can you say things like that to me? But enough. You're going out of this house. You are not needed by us. Everything she said left me stunned. This is how I was treated after putting in as much labor as a worker ant for the corporation. When she claimed to have given birth to me, I couldn't handle it. I didn't want to think like a child, even at my age, but I believed that parents shouldn't say things like, "I gave birth to you," or "I raised you." I didn't appreciate the patronizing, "I did this for you" mentality because having kids is a way to feel good about yourself. I wouldn't want to say such things to my children if I ever had some. I made the decision to leave the house after my mother told me so much. I returned to my room, gathered my belongings, and made the decision to bring only the necessities. I thought I could remain at a business hotel while I looked for an apartment, but I had nowhere specific to go. I left the house and checked into a business hotel in the area. It felt calm in the room without my mother and brother. Nobody was around to annoy me or say hurtful things. I was thinking about my classmate Jake while I relaxed in my room. I wanted to know how he was doing. I called him since I hadn't spoken to him in a while. "Hi, Jake. What's going on over there?" "Well, the factory where I was employed just closed." "How come?" "In actuality, I was fired from the corporation after my father passed away." "Your father passed away?" "Yes, but oddly, I didn't feel depressed." "Does that imply that I am a horrible son?" "You said that your parents were unjust to you and always disapproved of you. Perhaps it makes sense. What did you do after being expelled then?" "My mother fired me and announced that she was handing the business over to my brother. She then evicted me from the house as well, although I suppose it was time for me to go anyhow." "I understand. Hey, how about we get started together?" "Hey, let's create our own business from the ground up." "But is that really possible?" "Indeed. Come on, let's do it." So I summoned Jake to a coffee shop. There, we discussed a wide range of topics. Jake stated that he would really benefit if our business turned a significant profit. He had to work to support his mother because she was still not feeling well. We made plans because, fortunately, I had a good amount of money saved. We first found a place to live. We got everything in order after speaking with a lawyer Jake knew. We worked fast, and soon our business was up and running. My family's business was directly across the street from mine, and it had a large, eye-catching sign. When I entered and left the building, my brother and mother were taken aback. "Is this place being rented by you?" "That's correct." "But isn't this place really expensive for rent?" "We can afford it because we have raised enough money." "How did you attain the funds?" "From YouTube. Stories I shared on toxic parents received a lot of views." "Wait, are you referring to me?" "Perhaps. This location and this enormous sign were mentioned in an interview with the industry." "Yes, it is a publishing company for comics." "I was aware of it. I'm confident in my ability to generate ideas, but I'm not very good at writing or painting. As a child, I always liked comics and aspired to be a comics artist, but I was a lousy sketcher. After that, I considered writing novels, but I wasn't very good at it either. Despite my best efforts, I could only write at an elementary school level. However, I was always the one coming up with ideas for theater class since I was skilled at coming up with them. I had to drop out of middle school and gave up on my dream of attending an art school and pursuing a creative profession. However, I came to the realization that academic background is irrelevant. I knew it was feasible without a degree because my favorite YouTuber, who does graphics, also dropped out of middle school. I posted controversial content to make money because I didn't want to be a YouTuber myself, and it gained some attention. I assumed they must have a lot of free time, yet there were condescending and trollish comments. I appreciate you watching, and I continued to post. I launched a comics publishing company with the money I made. My company published comics, but they weren't the same as comics for boys or girls. Our area of expertise was ladies' comics, which are well liked by housewives. The majority of our works were based on my ideas, although typically women would come up with the stories or the authors would start from fresh. The media took notice when word spread that a man was creating these dramatic, female-focused plots. I didn't reveal my identity, but the business gained notoriety very fast. Abandoned by toxic parents. Jessica's Revenge, our first single, was a big hit. Jessica, the main character, was working at the start of the novel after dropping out of middle school and being taken advantage of by her parents. It struck a profound chord with readers. You're the president of this company, So you were behind those weird comics. Yeah, they're my passionate creations. What a jerk you are. I become the villainous sister character because of you. I never said the character was based on you. It's not slander or defamation. Anyone who sees it can tell it's me, so don't act foolish. No one can tell it's you because I didn't make it that clear. Furthermore, shouldn't you be the one concerned about being sued for slander and defamation? What do you mean? I appreciate you using your real name to post those horrible remarks on my YouTube channel. I've submitted a disclosure request already. Please wait. I'm happy to have a pal who is a lawyer. Friends are priceless, thanks to Jake. Not at all. What will become of me? I'm not sure. All I know is that you'll most likely be held accountable. Unaware that it was my channel, my brother would boastfully post derogatory remarks like, "The uploader is an idiot." Instead of ignoring it, I made the decision to file the disclosure request as a lesson to him. Individuals who believe they can do anything they want in a world where they can remain anonymous are mistaken. My brother became pale and began to shake. I couldn't help but smile when I thought he might even pee himself. Well, I have a meeting with a comics artist, so I'll get going. Wait, Steve. I need to go earn even more cash. I'm so busy. I went into the office, ignoring my mother. A comics artist met with Jake and me. I gave her the concept for her next piece because she was a fresh artist and did a fantastic job creating dramatic scenarios. You're quite skilled at generating ideas, Tom. I look up to you because I struggle with it, but I rely on the comics artists since I'm not good at drawing or writing. Writers were even hired to create the YouTube content. That channel attracted a lot of interest. People enjoy dramatic tales, don't they? Indeed, it demonstrates how anxious people are these days. People who enjoy dramatic fiction may be coping with personal hardship. Our responsibility is to assist them in letting go of that tension. Life in the modern world is undoubtedly stressful. You've been really helpful, Jake. You're quite good at picking up on details and identifying errors fast. I did work at a printing factory, though. I struggle with details since I'm a big picture person. I'm not very good at finding errors because of this, but Jake makes up for it. Jake's expertise at identifying typos and errors stems from his previous employment at a printing facility. There haven't been any misprints yet. It would have been a disservice to our readers if we had. Since our publishing house is still small, we must gradually build up a track record in order to get credibility. For this reason, we take great care to ensure that our comics are error-free. My brother has to deal with the fallout ever since. He received a fine for both slander and defamation. Although it wasn't much, my brother was unable to pay and knelt down to ask for pardon. That fool made poor stock investments and lost a lot of money. I told him we wouldn't need the police or attorneys if begging worked because I didn't intend to forgive him. Our family business eventually filed for bankruptcy. The reason for this was that my brother invested in stocks using money from the company. This wouldn't have occurred if he hadn't made such foolish decisions. However, I was no longer obligated to assist him. I made the decision to live without a family. But I had an important experience when I was 33. A 28-year-old woman approached us while I was searching for new comics creators. She had submitted her work to a number of publications, but had not heard back. After seeing our work, she decided to attempt making dramatic ladies comics, even though she had been hesitant about it. Retaliation was not the only theme in our works. The protagonist's happiness was the most important aspect. In essence, it was a Cinderella tale, and comics of this kind were gaining popularity. Although I didn't watch many dramas, I had heard that Korean dramas frequently have this structure. I began studying Korean dramas since Korean idols, cosmetics, and dramas were popular among women in their 20s. They proved to be quite helpful, and I was inspired to write The Ugly Duckling Who Became a Princess After Plastic Surgery. Indeed, the protagonist's transformation in Korea works effectively since Korean cosmetic surgery and makeup are well known. Yeah, I thought it would be interesting if everyone treated her differently when she returned to the States. I'd want a scene where everyone turns to look at her. I understand. She gets so stunning that people gasp. Although she should be first portrayed as extremely ugly to the point of being pathetic, she has a good-hearted and caring nature. Comprehensive. The bullies should have a mediocre appearance, not exceptionally attractive, but not unattractive either. Oh, and the protagonist should also have liposuction. Yes, I am aware of folks who have had liposuction in Korea. She could then get into amazing shape. She could make a lot of money and become a famous hostess. Then her nasty old classmates might become clients. That sounds great, but she doesn't reveal her identity as they hit on her without realizing who she is. How about that? Jake, that's a fantastic concept. It's fascinating. Regards. Do you think some mature scenes would be a good addition? Women in their 30s are the target audience for this. Sure, something for working women who are tired from their jobs. Exactly. Women who are frustrated are motivated to continue after reading the ending. Not only to exact retribution, but also because the protagonist finds happiness on her own. I got it. I'll try it out. Excited, Emily, the artist, produced The Ugly Duckling, who underwent plastic surgery and became a princess. Sarah, the amiable but incredibly ugly main character, is a victim of bullying. She is regularly made fun of by her high school peers since she is not only fat, but also ugly. The lads dislike her, and when she writes a letter to one of them confessing her love, he discards it. After being devastated, Sarah puts in a lot of work and goes to Korea by herself. She has full-body plastic surgery there. She undergoes liposuction, has her jaw, eyes, and nose altered, and becomes a lovely beauty. She is so stunning that she gets a double take at the airport when she returns to the United States. Sarah becomes the best hostess by using her beauty. She quickly reconnects with her old classmates and eventually finds her true love. Our little publishing business expanded dramatically, and the comic became a success. In the end, a well-known actress played Sarah in the TV drama adaptation of the comic. They depicted her ugly and gorgeous hostess phases using special effects. As a token of appreciation for her efforts, I took Emily to AAL. I was happy that I invited Emily out, and she loved spending time with me. We started dating more and grew closer to one another. My desire to tell Emily how I felt grew stronger as I got to know her more. But Emily had graduated from an art university, and I had dropped out of high school. I made the brave decision to come clean, even though I didn't think she would be interested in someone like me. I got the confidence I needed when Jake told me to go for it if I liked her. Emily, there's something I want to tell you. What is it? I want you to seriously consider our future together. Are you saying that you were thinking about marriage? Indeed. Despite my lack of knowledge and my middle school dropout status, I want to be with you going forward. Emily, I can't lie to myself any longer. Please take my request to date seriously, since I would love to marry you in the future. I'm grateful. The same thing has been my desire. What? I'd be happy to be more than just work partners with you. Emily happily agreed to my suggestion. I was glad that I had voiced my emotions. Everyone follows their own route in life, according to Emily, who didn't mind that I dropped out of middle school. The fact that Emily was my girlfriend made me happy and thankful. After that, we got married. That was when I was 34. Although my brother and parents were not present for the wedding, our staff members and Jake, my business partner and close friend, joined in the celebration. Above all, I was pleased to have Emily's parents accept me. Though she had trouble coming up with ideas, Emily kept up her hard work as a comic artist, even after she married me. I believed she had a great deal of creativity, and her artwork was superb. She created engaging imagery. Emily's artwork and my story ideas were used to make a number of pieces. In addition, Jake fostered and managed numerous talents. Our business expanded gradually and gained recognition in the market for women's comics. Emily seemed ill just before my 35th birthday. She added, "Actually, I've been told I'm expecting," which made me wonder whether it was something she ate. "What? We are expecting a child. You're going to be a father." "Me? A dad?" "Indeed. You will become a father." I'm overjoyed. That's incredible. I was so emotional that I raised Emily up. I placed my ear to her tummy, imagining the baby growing and moving inside her even though I couldn't hear anything yet. I looked forward to seeing our child every day and was thrilled to meet them. Then Emily went into labor when I was 35. After giving it her all, Emily gave birth to a healthy boy. I was crying as I held him because I couldn't believe such a lovely little creature existed. My life was no longer solely mine from this point on. For my wife, Emily, and our baby, I had to live my best life. Whatever difficulties we faced, I knew I could bear them for their benefit. This was my pride as a father and my resolve as a man. Despite having toxic parents as a youngster, I was concerned about whether I could really love my child. However, I believe I'm doing all right. Although raising a child is undoubtedly difficult, I am filled with love as I see him develop every day. My brother and I were treated very differently by our parents, and I never understood why. Yes, they probably liked my brother more since he was smarter and more charming. However, I am aware that I could never choose to forsake one child over the other, even if we have another. I'll try to be the greatest parent I can be and use my parents as an example of what not to do, even if one of them seemed less capable. Emily and I intend to help each other raise our child because we both work. Additionally, Jake met a girlfriend, and the two of them intend to tie the knot shortly. I envision a society in which people who persevere through adversity are ultimately rewarded. Hello. Brian at the office. I left my pen behind. Return and retrieve it. That was Thomas, my supervisor. We're abroad to top it all off. There wasn't even a room reserved for me when we got to the motel. Thomas's remark caused the other people on this business trip to start laughing. I gave a long sigh. This is too much. Ugh. As I turned to go, I thought, this is outright harassment. Shall I simply return to Japan? I had the thought. My name is Brian. I am 30 years old, and I am actually in charge of the business meeting that is scheduled for tomorrow. I got a cab to the airport and called because I was tired of Thomas's persistent taunting. A flight back to Japan was not available. For the first time in a long time, I finally gave my uncle in the United States a call. The phone was answered by my aunt. Hello. This is Brian, Auntie. Can I come over, even if this is abrupt? I'll arrive in roughly 2 hours. I reached my uncle's place shortly after. It's been a while, Ed. Has something occurred? My aunt inquired worriedly. After explaining the circumstances, I made the decision to spend the night at my uncle's house. When my uncle got home from work that evening, we talked about the good old days. Despite the fact that I am already 30, I found myself thinking back on my life. My mom was an office clerk at the tiny plant where my dad operated when I was growing up. When my parents were at work late, I would wait at the home of my maternal grandmother, who lived close by herself. In addition, she took me to and from childcare. I was really close to her because I was an only child. I'd attended a nearby cram school and English class when I started elementary school because my parents were serious about my academics. I frequently ran into Malene, a daycare buddy there. Our residences were near to one another. Every child in school discussed video games. I didn't have one, and neither did Malene. Even though we were in the same class, we frequently felt alienated since we didn't exactly fit in. Malene muttered one day after school, "I wish I could play video games too." It was the same for me. "Grandma, I really want a video game," I pleaded with her one day. "I swear, I'll work hard in my studies." "Let's keep this between us," she said softly, and then she purchased me a game system. I was so thrilled that I was barely able to restrain myself when it arrived with 2 controllers. Malene lived in a quite large home, but I surreptitiously invited her to my grandma's after school, because her parents were also very strict about her studies. Malene came over after telling her parents she was studying with pals. After doing our assignment, we would want to play games together. However, we didn't tell anyone at school about it. We would be in serious trouble if our parents found out. Up until 3rd grade, Malene and I were good friends, but my mother died of a disease at that time. I started crying. I cried every day, as though I were depleting my supply of tears for the rest of my life. I wept till my eyes were dry. For a while, I even stopped attending school. After that, my grandma moved in with us to help with home tasks and to help look after my father. I was unable to speak during the funeral because I was in such shock. My mother's younger brother, my uncle, was also crying uncontrollably. In retrospect, losing her daughter must have crushed my grandma as well. My grandmother refrained from crying, and my father maintained a composed expression during our little burial. In the end, I skipped school for a full year. I also stayed in my room and quit attending cram schools. My uncle encouraged me to visit America after he and his aunt were later relocated to a U.S. corporation. I therefore took a plane to the United States. My aunt and uncle, who were childless themselves, took good care of me. In America, I gradually adapted to living abroad as my surroundings drastically altered. My uncle and aunt both assisted me in my academic endeavors. I later completed my high school and middle school education in the United States, and I put in enough effort to gain admission to a prominent American institution. Since I was in elementary school, my uncle's best buddy, a man named Joseph, has also frequently visited their home. He always referred to me as Ed and was kind to me. Joe taught me a lot, particularly in the area of studying. My grandmother's health declined when I graduated from college, so I went back to Japan. I joined my current company after my uncle advised me to do so. Only President Owens and the Human Resources Department were aware of my past. I was initially put in charge of the General Affairs Division. I couldn't quite recall who she was, but I noticed a sales department employee in the workplace cafeteria who seemed oddly familiar. Although it was a real estate company at the time, it wasn't very large. I obtained my real estate broker's license while I was employed in the General Affairs Division. My uncle got me a computer when I was in middle school, and I adored it. As the internet grew in popularity, I spoke with a lot of individuals online. I felt at ease speaking both Japanese and English. I was primarily responsible for document organization in the General Affairs Department. I was also able to watch my grandmother because I left work on time. But things began to change with her. Thursdays were my day off, so I took her to the hospital. My grandmother suffered from severe dementia, as I had expected. The only option left to my father and me was to place her in a care facility. My father got married again after a while. The home responsibilities were taken over by his new wife. I began living alone after renting a modest one-room apartment close to the workplace. The sales department employee I had been interested in approached me one day at the company's year-end celebration. "Do you not remember me, Brian?" "I'm Malene." He. "Malene, it's me." "Wait, you're Malene from elementary school." "Indeed. Isn't it sentimental?" I was surprised. It never occurred to me that the Malene who used to live close by when we were children was now in front of me. She had grown pretty attractive, and I hadn't recognized her at all because of her cosmetics. Then Malene slipped me a little letter and went back to her chair. Her contact details were written on the note. I simply wrote her a brief message the following evening. "Good job today." "How are you doing?" Malene asked. "Do you want to go out to eat sometime?" I therefore concurred. In the end, we went to a family restaurant for dinner. I informed M about my college experience and my trip abroad. I requested that she not tell the other staff members about it. Malene reportedly attended Tokyo University after graduating from a prominent private middle and high school before landing a job. Both of us made the decision to hide our pasts from other people. After that, we began dining together more frequently. At the time, Malene was also living alone. We were both 24 at the time. After a while, I stayed in the General Affairs Department until I was summoned by President Owens. We don't have enough salespeople at the moment, Brian. Are you open to moving to the sales department? Mr. Owens, I'm not really good at sales. Brian, take your time. Because of your talent, I think you'll pick it up gradually. I'm grateful. I'll try it out. Consequently, the next week I was moved to the sales division. I sat at my new workstation and greeted Thomas and the other salespeople. Malene, the sales department office worker, grinned broadly. I started by observing my more experienced coworkers, taking up tips via interacting with clients and listening to their sales pitches. I had grown more gregarious while studying in America, enjoying English and forming a large social circle. However, I became more introverted after I returned to Japan, and I was really nervous around sales. Malene provided me supportive messages when I confided in her about my difficulties. At the age of 28, I began working in sales, but I had trouble getting contracts. Brian, where did you graduate from? Thomas questioned one day. Oh, it wasn't anything special. Data. You millennials need to work harder and schedule more appointments. Yes, Thomas, I understand. My nightmare started when Thomas was about 40 years old. I was racing around pursuing sales leads in freezing and blistering temperatures, yet I was still unable to complete any deals. Hey, useless Brian, just sit down and organize the documents today. Yes, Thomas, I understand. Thomas handed me a pile of documents as I was saying that. The other salesmen started laughing since it was so heavy that I almost tripped. I sat in front of the computer at my desk and began going through the papers. I couldn't possibly complete this in a one day. Thomas, when do you need these documents completed by? This will likely take you a very long time, Brian. You have 3 days. Additionally, remain late if you are unable to finish, but don't anticipate overtime compensation. I said softly, I understand. In response, is it possible for me to complete this in 3 days? Each sales representative had to have the necessary paperwork ready, including client information and contract creation, all painstakingly and accurately typed. The sales team was busy rushing around for discussions with the construction business in what appeared to be a new residential development that had begun in a relatively remote place. After they got a contract, I would confirm it and give it to Thomas. It was too much to juggle with my document preparation responsibilities. Since I joined, the company, which had begun modest, has been steadily expanding. Even I was beginning to feel let down by my poor sales skills. Everyone left for their homes at the conclusion of the workday, but Malene returned to the office with coffee and lunch. I brought you some lunch, Brian. I'll assist you in organizing the documents as we eat together. Thank you, Malene. It means a lot that you're here, even though I don't think I'm cut out for sales. That's how Thomas has always been, temperamental and irritable. New salespeople were scolded, forced to complete paperwork, and several quit, even in the General Affairs Department. You could have easily joined a larger corporation given your background. What made you select this one? Oh, my uncle's recommendation was the reason. Although my grandmother's health was deteriorating at the time, I did think about working for a multinational corporation. I was concerned about her because she had looked after me. I requested to be assigned to the General Affairs Department, which did not offer overtime, for this reason. I anticipated a high volume of client dinners and sales. I understand. So your uncle and President Owens are acquainted. Yeah, apparently they were classmates. Wow, exactly like us. Only from preschool to elementary school did we spend time together. But yet, when we could play video games at your grandmother's house back then, I was overjoyed. Those were good times. They were, in fact. Malign, you've matured so much. I didn't even recognize you. How could you possibly recall me? You look the same, though. Since then, you haven't changed. Yeah, I do get told I look young for my age. We shared the meal she brought and spoke and laughed. As the office clerk, it is actually my responsibility to handle these records. Let me handle it. Thanks. It was already 1 p.m. when Meline collected some of the documents and sat at her desk to assist me. It's getting late, Meline. You ought to go home shortly. It's not secure. You're correct. Will you continue to work? I'll stay for a little longer, but I'll be heading out soon. Avoid going overboard. I'll see you tomorrow. After thanking her, I let her go first. I thought I could endure a little while longer. I decided to go to bed at around 1 in the morning after applying some eye drops. I took a leisurely walk home, showered briefly, and then went to bed for a couple of hours because my flat was close to the office. I'd arrived at work early the following morning and started processing documents again. There still seemed to be no end in sight. Even though I had been pounding away at the computer since the morning, I had come a long way with Meline's assistance. But during the 10 a.m. break, a senior colleague gave me another stack of documents. Everyone had coffee made by Meline. Hey, Brian, at least brew the coffee and be of some use. There's nothing else you can do, so start contributing. Oh, I'm sorry. Meline's expression was perplexed. The senior coworkers were grinning. I was about to start my lunch break when Thomas yelled, "Do you truly believe you have time to rest, Brian? Will the paperwork be completed? I'll be right back." After saying that, I hurried back to the office and ate a sandwich. It's not as though eating more would make a difference. In any case, I'd probably just become tired. I put in extra hours into the evening once more. Madeline came to assist me today and brought lunch once more. Despite clocking out, I kept working. Meline showed up soon after. You returned, Meline. Many thanks. No issue. I don't have anyone at home waiting for me anyhow. However, I discovered while reviewing these documents that many of them aren't even required at this time. Thomas is merely playing tricks on you. Yes, I had assumed that. However, given my dismal sales record, I am at a loss for options. What a jerk Thomas is, Meline swore, clearly upset. She would become irritated if I defeated her while we were playing games as kids, and her expression brought back those memories. Although her angry expression had its own beauty, her smile was adorable. In America, I had a lot of female friends, but none of them ever became my girlfriends. They were simply friends. However, I've noticed that I'm drawn to Meline lately. She told me that, in spite of her beauty, she wasn't seeing anyone special. Around 9:00 p.m. that evening, we wrapped up our job, and I escorted Meline to the station. It appeared like I could turn in everything by the third day. I decided to brew coffee for everyone the following day. Meline entered the break room at 10:00 a.m. How are things going? Are you going to be done on time? You just have to carry the coffee. I'll prepare it. Thank you. With your assistance, I should be able to complete everything by noon. Thomas is going to shout at me once more if I don't bring the coffee myself. Meline just made the coffee and went back to the office after I told her that. I brought the coffee to each person's desk. Thomas frowned but remained silent. The phone rang as soon as I returned to my desk. President Owens had made the internal call. Brian, would you mind stopping by my office for a bit? Indeed, Mr. Owens. I'll be there, right. I ended the call. I've been summoned to Mr. Owens's office, Thomas. I will return shortly. Since I know you, it's most likely a demotion. Go get a proper reprimand Thomas added. Disregarding him, I went to the president's office and was asked to have a seat on the couch. How is the sales work going, Brian? I'm really sorry, Mr. Owens. Nothing has been going smoothly for me. I'm now assisting Thomas with organizing his documents. I understand. I'm sad to hear that. I want you to take care of the materials as we are going to start negotiating with certain clients abroad. Few of our staff members speak English well. I said, I understand, and our chat came to an end. By lunchtime, I returned to the office and completed Thomas' paperwork, giving it to him. What is this? So, that wasn't really a demotion. You completed the documents at last, huh? As he perused the documents, Thomas scoffed. Us list people sure take their time. The other workers smiled smugly at me. President Owens came into the office a short while later. Good afternoon, Mr. Owens. Every staff got up to welcome him. I also greeted him in the same manner. Thomas, I want Brian to handle some materials for me. Is that okay? Yes, of course. In any case, Brian is a lousy salesman. President Owens then gave the papers to me. I picked them up and went through them. They contained information about an American resort in Japan. I first began writing the proposal in English before compiling the data in Japanese. English is my strongest language, thus I completed the materials fast. I took the completed paperwork to President Owens' office, where he spent roughly half an hour going over them. As anticipated, Brian. He said, "Please wait here for a moment." I sat on the couch and waited after President Owens said that. Then he called someone on the phone. As always, thank you, Joseph. The paperwork is prepared. I'll give Brian the phone for a second. I accepted the phone from President Owens, feeling a little perplexed. Hi, I'm Brian. Hello, Ed. This is Joseph, a friend of your uncle. Joe? It's been a long time. Wow. I'm genuinely shocked. Ed, you sound good. That brings me joy. I requested that Mr. Owens take charge of this resort project. Your uncle is also doing quite well. I would really like to sit down and talk to you in person. Would you be able to visit the U.S.? So this project was yours, Joe. I would be delighted to, of course. I will surely travel. Thank you. Ed, I want you to bring your senior coworkers and supervisor along. I'll go over the paperwork later and provide Mr. Owens the specifics. Still astonished, I said, "Yes, I understand," and returned the phone to President Owens. Joseph and President Owens then spoke for a few more seconds before hanging up. President Owens then remarked, "The CEO, Joseph Howard, was actually a classmate of mine in college." How come? Is Joseph the CEO? That's unexpected. Indeed, he is. Since it's going to be a large project, I'll make sure to inform Thomas if a business trip to the U.S. is planned. I am depending on you. I get it, Mr. Owens. This is a significant matter. Do your best, please. Still in disbelief by the unexpected conversation with Joe, I answered, I will do my utmost. I walked out of President Owens' office after bowing to him. The next week was set aside for the business trip abroad. I traveled to the United States with Thomas and a few senior colleagues. Brian, I hear this is a huge issue. Avoid trying to flaunt yourself, Thomas said on the aircraft. My room was the only one missing when we got to the hotel in the United States. Thomas, I don't seem to have a room. Your chamber. Oh, I see now. I left my pen at the office, by the way. Why don't you return and retrieve it? Stunned, I stood there. I thought this pestering was rather excessive, as I already stated, but I turned to go after saying, "Ah, understood." Everyone around me started giggling. I ignored them and called my uncle, trying to hide my annoyance. After that, I traveled to my uncle's house for 2 hours from the airport. Uncle was enraged. It's been a long time. Ed, The idea that they would send you back in the middle of a crucial negotiation with Joseph. I'll inform him of the situation. Joe, the CEO, was given a detailed explanation by my uncle. Thomas went to see Joe Howard the following day. President Owens was also incensed, and I had already spoken to him about it. Actually, Brian, I've been informed by Malene about the harassment you've been facing from Thomas. What? You see, Malene is my niece. She is the daughter of my sister. Wait, really? Yes, Brian, she has told me a lot about you. I'll see to it that Joseph is fully informed. Hold on tight for the moment. Sorry about this, Mr. Owens. I understand. I was surprised once more. At my uncle's place, I made the decision to wait. The following day, the meeting was set for 1:00 p.m. After a lengthy absence, my uncle and his spouse were ecstatic to see me again and arranged a lavish meal. Your father appears to have remarried, Ed. I am aware that you greatly aided my mother. I appreciate everything you've done for her. It was nothing, Uncle. Grandma was dear to me, and she's doing well even though she's currently in a care facility. My uncle said, Ed, thank you, with a hint of tears in his eyes. Even though I hadn't seen my father in a while, I still occasionally went to see Grandma. But as she lost her memory of who I was, every visit became more agonizing. Even our shared memories appeared to have been mercilessly erased by dementia. But whenever I went to see her, she always greeted me with a smile. Thinking back on my talk with President Owens, I also recalled Malene's kind smile as she said me farewell prior to my departure for the United States. It was unbelievable to me that Malene was actually the niece of President Owens. When I got back to Japan, I messaged Malene to invite her out to dinner. She smiled as she answered. I spent the night at my uncle's house. In order to avoid bumping into Thomas, I departed early the following morning and went to meet with CEO Joe Howard. Mr. Howard, thank you for meeting with me today. I'm happy you came, Ed. You've matured a lot. Would you mind waiting a little while in the back room? I'm quite glad to see you. Yes, I'll wait there. It appeared that Howard would wait to make a decision in order to watch Thomas and the others. As I waited for Thomas and the older coworkers who had made fun of me to show up, I hid in the back room, feeling a little thrilled. Then, as I listened intently, I heard a man who appeared to be American go into the room. The man and Howard were laughing and enjoying their talk as they spoke fluent English. Then came Thomas and the 3 senior coworkers who had made fun of me. Thomas bowed deeply to Howard and gave him his business card. Wait, aren't you missing someone? That guy? We sent him back to Japan because he is useless. Pointless. Brian. We're even making this agreement because of him. Was it Thomas? If so, we will terminate this $100 million agreement. What? A $100 million deal? Mr. Howard, please wait. My phone began to ring at that very time, and it was Thomas calling. I exited the back room by opening the door. Thomas, the useless Brian is right here. What? You? I'd assumed you returned to Japan in order to retrieve my pen. For a single pen, why would I travel all the way back to Japan? Furthermore, I was without a place to stay. Allah. That. But Brian, what's this about $100 million? Thomas, I had no idea about the amount either. Then why are you even here? I added to Thomas, because this is an important deal, as I met the client standing next to Howard. Thomas, what's this about a pen? Howard inquired. Thomas gave a shaky, anxious response. Oh, it was only a miscommunication. Thomas doesn't seem to be up to the job, Brian. Thomas, President Owens and Brian both told me that Brian has trouble making sales in Japan, but he is still valuable. Could you now deliver the presentation for today in English? Oh, well, I'm not that good with English. Ed, please take care of it. I was always called Aid by Howard and my uncle. Startled, Thomas mumbled, "Ed, let me tell you something, Thomas. Brian and I have been friends since childhood. He completed Harvard after putting in a lot of study time in America." Harvard. Indeed, he is far from worthless. Take it away, Ed. I opened my laptop and delivered the presentation in fluent English, ignoring Thomas's and the others' shocked expressions. The client was obviously impressed, as evidenced by the joy in their eyes. We then discussed the best things Japan has to offer in our own English. After giving the client a solid handshake, we hugged each other. I gave Howard a hug as well. The $100 million transaction went well. "I have no use for any of you," Mr. Howard remarked, turning to Thomas and the others. "To think that you treated Brian as though he had no value. Go now." With their shoulders slumped, Thomas and the other three walked out of the room, their heads lowered in defeat. Mr. Howard invited me to join him and the customer for a celebratory dinner after I expressed my sincere gratitude. After we deepened our relationship, I went back to Japan. Back at the office, President Owens ordered a demotion because he was upset with Thomas's treatment of me. President Owens formally nominated me as the head of the sales department. The senior coworkers who had made fun of me went white as Thomas sagged and walked out of the office. Moline was the only one who smiled at me. However, I had one more task to complete. Determined, I asked Moline to a fancy restaurant and asked her to marry me. After examining the diamond ring I presented to her, Moline accepted my proposal while grinning and crying. Joe Howard and my uncle attended our wedding, which was a lavish affair. When President Owens declared that I would be the company's future president during the ceremony, the large crowd erupted in cheers. Thomas decided to quit since he was dissatisfied with his rural reassignment. The senior coworkers who made fun of me expressed regret for their actions. With Moline as my wife, I firmly committed to safeguarding and guiding the business together, and the environment at the company became calm. "Why are you in this place? You should be working on the filing assignments I assigned you, right?" Sarah Miller, the new hire, was sitting by herself in the break room when HR Director Robert Thompson scoffed at her. Sarah glanced down at her sandwich and her eyes filled with tears. Unnoticed, I watched this incident from the doorway. I am 45-year-old Michael Anderson, the CEO of Tech Innovation Incorporated after 5 years overseas. I recently returned to the company's headquarters, although nobody is aware that I've done so yet. "What's going on here? Excuse me." I spoke directly to Thompson. "Who are you? Are you new to this place?" "No, I'm not. The CEO is myself, Michael Anderson." Thompson's face was devoid of color. "Mr. Anderson. However, how? When did you return?" "Only today. Would you mind telling me what I just heard?" Thompson began making halting excuses. "As you can see, this is a component of our new training program for employees to develop their training and character. How does humiliating and isolating a worker qualify as training?" My rage had reached a breaking point. "Would you please come here, miss? What is your name?" Sarah walked hesitantly up. "Sir, my name is Sarah Miller." "Sarah, could you explain how you ended up working for our organization?" "Yes, sir. I received my computer science degree from MIT. I submitted an application via your innovation hiring initiative. Although the interview process was difficult, I was overjoyed to get admitted." "I understand. And since joining us, how have you been treated?" After a moment of hesitation, Sarah answered quietly, "Since I've been here for 2 months, I must admit that I haven't been given any programming assignments. I've been working primarily as a secretary, but today I was informed that I wasn't good enough to join the team for lunch." My rage was becoming out of control. I looked over at Thompson. "Describe yourself. Why is a worker treated this way after being hired for her programming abilities?" Thompson made an effort to protect himself. Mr. Anderson, new hires must become familiar with their roles. They cannot expect to be treated like senior employees simply because they stroll in. They must merit their position, waste their abilities, and crush their soul to earn their place. This company does not stand for that. Please get your belongings together and come to my office, Sarah. There, we'll eat lunch and talk about your potential future position with this organization. Sarah appeared astonished and optimistic. Really? Thank you, sir. That would be. Obviously. As of this afternoon, you will be moved to a role that truly makes use of your abilities. But you can't just, I said. Thompson, get everyone in the conference room right away. I must make a significant announcement. Thompson's shocked face became white as he nodded. Let's go, Sarah. It's time for this organization to start identifying and developing potential. Tech innovation was always intended to be about that. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears, but they were tears of hope. Sarah, pay close attention. This business was established with the idea that gifted people need to have the opportunity to thrive, irrespective of their upbringing, age, or level of experience. We were expected to judge individuals on their skills and interests rather than their degrees or length of service. Sarah gave a solemn nod. It appears that we have deviated greatly from that vision while I have been away. However, today is the last day of this. We are going to transform this business into what it ought to have been from this point on. There will never be any more mistreatment of gifted youth like you. In front of every employee, I'm going to make a big announcement on changes to our company's policies. Every employee who has experienced unjust treatment will have their circumstances improved, and those who continue to support this toxic culture will suffer severe repercussions. Sarah's eyes gleamed with delight and thankfulness. We're going to appropriately identify and make use of your skills, Sarah. This business should function that way, and not just for you. These adjustments will benefit all employees. Our company is being reborn today, and the young innovators of your generation will be leading this transformation. Together, let's transform this sector. I'll be there for you at every turn. Sarah, hurry up. It's time for tech innovation to enter a new era. There was a noticeable sense of tension in the crowded meeting room. I was prepared to speak to the entire company as I stood at the front. Ladies and gentlemen, during my 5-year absence, our company's core values have been severely compromised. I'm deeply disappointed by what I've witnessed today. A murmur spread through the room. I could see Thompson shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Just hours ago, I found one of our brightest new hires, Sarah Miller, eating lunch alone because she was told she wasn't good enough to eat with her team. This kind of behavior is not only unacceptable, it goes against everything tech innovation stands for. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Further investigation has revealed that many of our recent hires, brought in through our innovation recruitment program, have been relegated to menial tasks instead of utilizing their talents. This ends now. I paused, letting my words sink in. Effective immediately, we're implementing a complete overhaul of our company culture and policies. We will return to our founding principle, valuing talent, creativity, and innovation above all else. Age, tenure, or background will no longer be factors in how we treat our employees or assign responsibilities. I could see a mix of reactions: shock, relief, and in some cases, excitement. To begin with, Robert Thompson is hereby removed from his position as HR Director. Mr. Thompson, you will report to our new talent development team for retraining on our company values and modern HR practices. Thompson's face turned pale, but I continued without pause. We'll be conducting a thorough review of all employee assignments. If you feel your skills have been underutilized or you've been unfairly treated, please come forward. We want every single one of you operating at your full potential. I saw hope dawning on many faces, particularly among the younger employees. In the coming weeks, we'll be rolling out new initiatives to foster innovation, collaboration, and personal growth. This includes a company-wide innovation contest, mentorship programs, and a complete restructuring of our project teams to ensure diverse perspectives and skill sets. The room began to buzz with excitement. I understand this is a significant change. Change can be uncomfortable, even scary, but I assure you this is the path forward. This is how we'll not only survive but thrive in today's fast-paced tech landscape. I took a deep breath before delivering my final point to our senior staff. I challenge you to embrace this change. Your experience is valuable, but so are the fresh perspectives of our younger employees. To our newer employees, don't be afraid to speak up and share your ideas. This is your time to shine. Tech Innovation was founded to be a place where innovation flourishes, where great ideas can come from anyone, regardless of their position or background. Today, we reclaim that vision. Together, we'll build a company that doesn't just keep up with the future of tech, we'll define it. As I concluded, the room erupted into applause. I could see tears in some eyes and smiles on many faces, but I also noticed frowns and worried glances among some of the older executives. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. After the meeting, Sarah approached me, her eyes shining with excitement. "Mr. Anderson, I can't thank you enough. But are you sure about this? It's such a big change." "I've never been more sure of anything, Sarah. This company needs your talents, your fresh perspective, all of you. Now, tell me about that project idea you mentioned earlier. I have a feeling it might be just what we need to kickstart our new era." As Sarah began enthusiastically explaining her eye-driven accessibility project, I couldn't help but smile. This was just the beginning. We had a long way to go, but for the first time in years, I felt tech innovation was back on the right path. The real challenge was yet to come: implementing these changes, dealing with resistance, and truly transforming our company culture. But looking at Sarah's passionate expression, I knew it would all be worth it. We were about to change not just our company, but potentially the entire tech industry, and it all started with a chance encounter in a break room. In the weeks that followed, tech innovation underwent a radical transformation. The implementation of our new policies wasn't without its challenges, but the energy in the office was palpable. 1 month after the initial announcement, I called another company-wide meeting. As I stood before my employees, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in what we'd accomplished in such a short time. "Good morning, everyone. It's been a month since we embarked on this journey of change, and I want to share some updates with you." The room fell silent. All eyes focused on me. First, I'm thrilled to announce that our company-wide innovation contest was a resounding success. We received over 200 project proposals, each one showcasing the incredible talent we have in this company. A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. The winning project, an eye-driven accessibility platform proposed by Sarah Miller and her team, will be moving into full development starting next week. Sarah, sitting in the front row, beamed with pride as her colleagues congratulated her. But that's not all. The contest revealed so many promising ideas that we decided to greenlight the top 20 projects. Each will receive funding and resources for development. The excitement in the room was palpable. Now, we've also completed our company-wide skills assessment and reassignment process. I'm happy to report that 78% of our employees are now working in roles that better align with their skills and passions. I paused, noting the satisfied nods around the room. However, our journey isn't over. We faced resistance, and I know change isn't easy for everyone. To address this, we're launching a new mentorship program. We're pairing our experienced staff with our younger innovators, fostering an environment of mutual learning and respect. I saw a mix of reactions: enthusiasm from many, apprehension from some of the older staff. I understand that some of you may still have reservations. Change can be uncomfortable, but I want you to know that every single one of you is valuable to this company. Your experience matters, and combined with fresh perspectives, it's what will drive us forward. Just then, the door burst open, and my assistant rushed in, looking flustered. Mr. Anderson, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's an urgent call. It's Mark Sullivan from Tech Gwant Corporation. A hush fell over the room. Tech Gwant was the biggest player in our industry, a company we've been trying to land as a client for years. Thank you, Jenkins. Everyone, please excuse me for a moment. I stepped out to tape the call, my heart racing. When I returned a few minutes later, I couldn't keep the smile off my face. I apologize for the interruption. That was indeed Mark Sullivan, CEO of Tech Gwant Corporation. It seems news of our changes, and particularly Sarah's AI accessibility project, has reached them. They're interested in not just becoming a client, but potentially partnering with us on the development. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Sarah looked shocked, then elated. This right here is what happens when we value innovation and give everyone a chance to shine. Tech Gwant specifically mentioned our new approach as a key factor in their interest, their excitement about working with a company that's ahead of the curve in both technology and company culture. I let the excitement settle before continuing. This opportunity with Tech Gwant is huge, but it's just the beginning. The changes we're making aren't just about improving our company. They have the potential to influence the entire industry. We're not just adapting to the future, we're shaping it. As the meeting concluded and people filed out, chatting excitedly, I noticed Robert Thompson hanging back. He approached me, looking uncomfortable. Mr. Anderson, I owe you an apology. I was wrong about the new employees, about Sarah. I see now what I couldn't see before. If you're willing, I'd like to be part of this change. I smiled, extending my hand. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, Robert. Welcome aboard. The real work starts now. As I watched Thompson walk away with a newfound sense of purpose, I felt a surge of optimism. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but we were on the right path. Tech innovation was living up to its name at last, and the best was yet to come. 6 months had passed since our company's transformation began. The partnership with TechGan was in full swing, and tech innovation had become the torchbearer of the industry. As I walked through the office that morning, I couldn't help but marvel at the change in atmosphere. The once rigid, cubicle-filled space had been transformed into an open-plan office with collaborative spaces, whiteboards filled with ideas, and a palpable buzz of excitement. I spotted Sarah huddled with a diverse team, including Robert Thompson, discussing their latest project update. My assistant, Jenkins, approached me with a tablet in hand. Mr. Anderson, you have a video call scheduled with the board of directors in 10 minutes. Also, Time Magazine is online too. They want to feature tech innovation in their company's Reshaping the Future issue. Thank you, Jenkins. I'll take the call with Time after the board meeting. As I settled into my office for the video call, I braced myself. Despite our recent successes, I knew some board members were still skeptical of our rapid change. The faces of the board members appeared on the screen, a mix of familiar and new. We had recently added 2 younger members to bring fresh perspectives to our leadership. Michael, we reviewed the quarterly reports. The numbers are impressive. Thank you, Diana. As you can see, our revenue has increased by 40% since implementing our new policies. Employee satisfaction is at an all-time high, and our talent retention rate has improved significantly. That's all well and good, Michael, but what about long-term stability? These changes you've implemented, are they sustainable? Excellent question, James. I believe they are not just sustainable, but essential for our long-term success. Our partnership with TechGan has opened doors we couldn't have imagined 6 months ago. We're not just keeping up with the industry, we're setting the pace. I have to agree with Michael here. The innovation coming out of tech innovation in the past 6 months has been remarkable. Our competitors are scrambling to keep up. The younger board member, Zoe Carter, spoke up. If I may add, our new policies have made us the top choice for graduate recruitment. We're attracting talent that would have previously gone to the tech giants. The meeting continued, and by the end, even the skeptics seemed cautiously optimistic. As the call ended, I felt a sense of relief and pride. We were on the right track. Later that afternoon, I called a company-wide meeting. As employees filed into the auditorium, there was an air of anticipation. "Thank you all for coming. I have some exciting news to share." The room fell silent. First, I'm thrilled to announce that our AI accessibility project by Sarah Miller has been nominated for the National Innovation Award. The room erupted in cheers. Sarah, seated in the front row, looked stunned. This nomination isn't just a recognition of Sarah and her team's hard work. It's a testament to what we can achieve when we value every voice and every idea in this company. I paused, letting the excitement settle. Secondly, Tech Innovation has been selected as one of the top 10 companies to work for by Fortune magazine. They specifically cited our innovative company culture and commitment to fostering talent at all levels. Another round of applause filled the room. But perhaps the most exciting news is this. We've been approached by the Department of Labor. They want to use tech innovation as a case study for workplace innovation and equality. Our model could help shape labor policies nationwide. The excitement in the room was palpable. I saw proud smiles, colleagues hugging each other, and even a few tears of joy. This success belongs to every single one of you, from those who embraced change from the start to those who were skeptical but came around. We did this together. As the meeting concluded, I noticed Robert Thompson approaching Sarah, engaged in animated conversation. The sight of the former HR director collaborating enthusiastically with the young programmer he once dismissed brought a smile to my face. That evening, as I prepared to leave the office, I paused by the window, looking out at the city's skyline. The journey we had embarked on 6 months ago was far from over, but we had already come so far. Tech innovation wasn't just living up to its name, it was exceeding all expectations. It served as a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the biggest changes start with the smallest moments. As I turned off the lights and headed home, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities to innovate, to grow, and to make a difference, not just in our company, but in the world. I thought back to that day in the break room, the chance encounter that sparked this transformation. A year had passed since our company's transformation began. Tech innovation had become a beacon of progressive workplace culture and cutting-edge technology. As I walked into the office that morning, I couldn't help but reflect on our journey. The lobby was bustling with activity. A film crew from a major news network was setting up for an interview, and a group of students from a local university was being given a tour. Our open-door policy had made tech innovation a popular destination for those wanting to see the future of work in action. Jenkins approached me, tablet in hand as usual. "Good morning, Mr. Anderson. You have a busy day ahead. The interview with CNN is in an hour, followed by a meeting with the innovation team. Oh, and Sarah wanted a moment of your time before the big announcement this afternoon." "Thanks, Jenkins. I'll see Sarah in my office now." As I settled into my chair, Sarah knocked on the doorframe, a mix of excitement and nervousness on her face. "Come in." "Sarah, what's on your mind?" "Mr. Anderson, I wanted to thank you. A year ago, I was eating lunch alone, feeling worthless. Now I'm leading a team that's changing lives. Our AI accessibility project has helped thousands of people already. Sarah, you did that. You had the idea, the skills, and the drive. We just got out of your way and let you soar. But that's just it. You created an environment where that was possible. And now, with the expansion plans. Yes. Are you ready for the announcement?" "I think so. It's a big responsibility, but I'm excited. You'll do great. Your team in Silicon Valley will be lucky to have you as their leader." After Sarah left, I prepared for the Southeast Inn interview. The reporter, Lisa Chen, was known for her tough questions. "Mr. Anderson, a year ago, tech innovation was just another tech company. Now you're being hailed as revolutionaries in both technology and workplace culture. What sparked this dramatic change? It all started with a moment of clarity, Lisa. I realized we were squandering our most valuable resource, the diverse talents and perspectives of our employees. Once we began to truly value and nurture those talents, innovation flourished. But surely it wasn't that simple. You must have faced resistance. Oh, absolutely. Change is never easy. We had to overcome decades of ingrained corporate culture, but the results speak for themselves. Our revenue has doubled. Our employees' satisfaction is at an all-time high, and we're producing technology that is making a real difference in people's lives. Speaking of which, I understand you have a major announcement to make today. That's right, but you'll have to wait for the press conference like everyone else. After the interview, I joined the innovation team meeting. The energy in the room was electric as always. Ideas were flowing freely, with junior members contributing just as much as seasoned veterans. Finally, it was time for the press conference. The auditorium was packed with employees, press, and industry leaders. A year ago, we embarked on a journey to redefine what a tech company could be. Today, I'm proud to announce the next step in that journey. Tech innovation is expanding. We're opening new offices in Silicon Valley, London, and Tokyo. The room erupted in applause. But this isn't just about geographic expansion. We're also launching the Tech Innovation Foundation, a nonprofit arm dedicated to using our technology to address global challenges. From climate change to accessibility for the disabled, we're committed to being a force for positive change in the world. As I continued to outline our plans, I could see the pride and excitement on the faces of our employees. This wasn't just my vision anymore. It belonged to all of us. After the conference, as the excitement buzzed through the office, Robert Thompson approached me. "Michael, I never thought I'd say this, but thank you for giving me a second chance and for showing me a better way. I was so wrong about, well, everything. Robert, your willingness to change, to learn, and grow, that's what tech innovation is all about. We're all learning together." As I looked around at the vibrant, diverse teams collaborating, I thought of Sarah preparing for her new leadership role and the news crews capturing our story to inspire others. I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey we started a year ago in that break room had led us here, to a place where innovation thrived, where every voice was valued, and where we were using our success to make the world a little bit better. And we were just getting started. I smiled to myself. The future was bright, and tech innovation was ready to lead the way. 2 years had passed since our transformation began, and tech innovation had become a global powerhouse in the tech industry. Our expansion into Silicon Valley, London, and Tokyo had been incredibly successful, with each office developing its own unique culture while staying true to our core values. On this particular morning, I found myself in our Tokyo office, preparing for a global virtual town hall meeting. As I adjusted my webcam, I could see the faces of employees from all our offices popping up on the large screen before me. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us across all time zones. Today, we have some exciting announcements to make. I saw Sarah's face among the Silicon Valley team, beaming with pride. Her leadership had taken our AI accessibility project to new heights. First, I'm thrilled to announce that our AI accessibility technology has been adopted by the United Nations as part of their global initiative for inclusive technology. This means our innovation will help millions of people around the world. Cheers erupted from all corners of the globe. Secondly, Fortune magazine has named tech innovation as the most innovative company for the second year in a row. This is a testament to all of your hard work and creativity. More applause filled the virtual space. But perhaps our most exciting news is this. Tech Innovation is launching a global education initiative. We are partnering with universities worldwide to create a new kind of tech education program, one that emphasizes innovation, ethical technology, and inclusive workplace cultures. The excitement was palpable, even through the screen. This program isn't just about coding or engineering. It's about shaping the next generation of tech leaders who will carry forward the values we've embraced. We're calling it the Tech Innovation Future Leaders Program. As I continued to outline the details of the program, I could see the pride and enthusiasm on the faces of our employees around the world. This wasn't just a company anymore. It was a movement. After the town hall, I had a series of one-on-one video calls with team leaders from different offices. When Sarah's turn came, she was practically bouncing with excitement. "Michael, the response to our UN partnership has been overwhelming. We're getting calls from governments and NGOs worldwide. They all want to implement our technology." "That's fantastic, Sarah. You've turned that lunch break idea into something that's changing the world. How does it feel?" Honestly, it's surreal. Sometimes, I still can't believe how far we've come. But it's not just me, it's everyone here. The culture you've built makes anything seem possible. As our call ended, I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on our journey, from a chance encounter in a break room to a global tech leader changing lives around the world. It had been an incredible ride. Just then, Robert Thompson, now our Global Director of Employee Development, pinged me for a quick chat. "Michael, I've been thinking about our education initiative. What if we also included a program for mid-career professionals? Many companies are struggling with the kind of transformation we've undergone. We could help guide them through it." "That's an excellent idea, Robert. Draft a proposal, and we'll discuss it next week. This could be another way for us to spread our message and help shape the future of work." As the day wound down, I took a moment to walk through the Tokyo office. Despite the late hour, many team members were still there, engrossed in passionate discussions about their projects. The energy was infectious. I stepped out onto the balcony, looking out over the Tokyo skyline. The city lights twinkled, reminding me of the countless ideas sparking to life in our offices around the world at any given moment. 2 years ago, we set out to change our company. In the process, we ended up changing an industry. And now, we were working on changing the world. All because we decided to value every voice, to nurture every talent, and to believe that innovation can come from anywhere. As I turned to head back inside, I smiled to myself. We'd come so far, but I knew this was still just the beginning. The future was boundless, and tech innovation was ready to help shape it, one innovative idea at a time. The journey that began with a lonely lunch in a break room had turned into a global movement. And the best part, we were all in it together, united in our mission to use technology to make the world a better place. As I re-entered the bustling office, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new ideas, new opportunities to innovate and inspire, and we were ready for all of it. As tech innovation continued to grow and evolve, our impact on the tech industry and the world at large became increasingly profound. 5 years after our initial transformation, we found ourselves at the forefront of not just technological innovation, but also social change. Our global education initiative, the Tech Innovation Future Leaders Program, had expanded to partner with over 200 universities worldwide. We were shaping a new generation of tech leaders who understood the importance of ethical technology and inclusive workplace cultures. The AI Accessibility Project that Sarah had started had grown into a full-fledged division of the company, developing cutting-edge solutions that were improving the lives of millions of people with disabilities around the world. Robert Thompson's idea for a mid-career professional program had blossomed into the Tech Innovation Corporate Transformation Institute, helping other companies navigate the challenges of modernizing their workplace cultures and embracing innovation at all levels. On the 5th anniversary of our transformation, we held a global celebration across all our offices. As I prepared to address the company from our New York headquarters, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how far we'd come. 5 years ago, we embarked on a journey to redefine what a tech company could be. We started with a simple idea, that every voice matters, that innovation can come from anywhere. and that by nurturing talent and creativity, we could change the world. I paused, looking at the faces of employees in New York and on screens from offices around the world. Today, I stand before you not just as your CEO, but as a proud member of this incredible community we've built together. We've revolutionized the tech industry, yes, but more importantly, we've shown that it's possible to be wildly successful while also being ethical, inclusive, and focused on making a positive impact on the world. I saw nods of agreement and proud smiles from Tokyo to London, from Silicon Valley to our newest office in Nairobi. But our journey is far from over. As we look to the future, we face new challenges. The pace of technological change is accelerating. Issues like AI ethics, data privacy, and the impact of technology on society are more crucial than ever. But I have no doubt that together we will meet these challenges head-on. I took a deep breath before continuing, which is why today I'm excited to announce the launch of Tech Innovation 2.0. This initiative will focus on developing technologies that directly address the world's most pressing issues, from climate change to global health, from education access to economic inequality. We're committing 50% of our R&D budget to these efforts over the next decade. The announcement was met with thunderous applause and cheers from around the world. But Tech Innovation 2.0 isn't just about technology. It's about doubling down on our commitment to fostering a global culture of innovation and responsibility. We'll be expanding our education and corporate transformation programs, working to spread the values and practices that have made us successful to every corner of the tech industry and beyond. As I concluded my speech, I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. I thought back to that day in the break room, the lonely new employee eating lunch by herself. The spark that had ignited this incredible journey 5 years ago, a chance encounter, reminded me of the importance of valuing every individual, of nurturing every spark of talent and creativity. Today, that reminder has grown into a global movement. Each of you, with your unique talents, perspectives, and ideas, has contributed to this success. Together, we will continue to innovate, to inspire, and to make the world a better place through technology. The celebration continued long into the night, with employees around the world sharing stories, ideas, and dreams for the future. As I made my way through the New York office, I was stopped by a young intern, her eyes shining with excitement. "Mr. Anderson, I just wanted to say thank you. I've only been here for a month, but I already feel like my ideas matter, like I can make a difference. Is this how it always was at Tech Innovation?" I smiled, thinking back to where it all began. Not always, but this is who we are now and who we'll always strive to be. Remember, the next big idea, the next innovation that changes the world, could come from anyone, even someone eating lunch alone in the break room. As I watched her walk away, filled with purpose and enthusiasm, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. We had created something truly special at Tech Innovation, a place where talent was nurtured, where innovation flourished, and where every individual had the opportunity to make a difference. The journey that began with a simple act of kindness and recognition had transformed not just our company, but an entire industry. And as we look to the future, to Tech Innovation 2.0 and beyond, I knew that we would continue to push boundaries, to innovate, and to use our success to make the world a better place. In that moment, I realized that this was the true measure of our success, not in profits or market share, but in the lives we touched, the innovations we'd sparked, and the culture of creativity and compassion we fostered. As I left the office that night, looking out at the city skyline, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement for the future. The best was yet to come, and together we would continue to shape that future, one innovative idea at a time.